What is up, guys? Londrick here, and now I'm back with my Miscellaneous Wrestling Q&A. Yeah, this is a little late, isn't it, to be honest. I took me time doing this, I just didn't get it done. So, problem is, for a lot of the current questions, some of them will be out of date, so I apologise for that. But I'll do my best. And then, before I get started though, I just want to address something. Some people might be wondering, where's the Battleground review? And the answer is, it's not coming. I'm just not doing it, to be honest. I just don't want to. I'm just so tired of WWE at the moment. I just don't really want to watch it anymore. I just can't be bothered, and then I just read all the negative reviews, so I just, do you know what? Fuck this. For once, I'm just going to skip a pay-per-view. So sorry if that upsets people who want to see reviews of the show and all that, but just for this once, I'm just not going to do it. So yeah, let's just get into the questions. Like I say, some of the more current ones are a bit out of date because I've taken about 3 weeks to do this. So yeah, let's just get to them really. We've got Hitman Fan 68.3, worst ever wrestling pay-per-view. Well, worst wrestling pay-per-view that I've ever seen would probably be WCW Uncensored 2000. Oh god, that was a horrific piece of shit. But general consensus that the Heroes of Wrestling from 1999 is probably the worst pay-per-view ever. But I haven't personally seen it, and no, before any of you ask, I'm not going to watch it and review it, because I know there's been a big plot out there to make me watch this in the past. It's not going to happen. I've avoided it for 18 years, and I'm going to keep avoiding it, so it's not going to happen. Oh god, thoughts on the Dungeon of Doom. Oh my fucking Christ. What? Don't remind me about the fucking Dungeon of Doom, dude. Oh god, the Dungeon of Doom was this horrible faction in WCW in 1995. Oh, it was led by Kevin Sullivan. It had all these monster heels fighting Hulkamania, but oh god, it was some of the worst shit ever. Like, I'm not even joking, this might actually be the worst faction in the history of wrestling. It was so bad. I mean, I don't even know how to describe it without, like, I'm not even sure how to describe it, but god, it was some of the hawkiest, cheesiest stuff ever. And this was 1995, where wrestling was supposed to start getting a bit more realistic, but it was so just cartoony and shit. And I think the one positive is the Big Show started out in that and became a star, but you had the likes of Brutus Beefcake was face painted Zodiac, Kamala was in there, Earthquake was in there, Shark. We had Meng. Actually, yeah, Meng was a good worker, but then they had Bill DeMott in there as the Laughing Man. Ugh. It was just bad. Did you Google it or fucking YouTube it or whatever, and you'll see what I mean. Sorry, horrible stuff. And then, do you watch OSW reviews? No, I don't actually, and there's no particular reason for not doing it. I just don't. It's pretty simple, really. Then, thoughts on Fire Pro Wrestling Series, plus you hear about the new one on Steam. Yes, I heard about the new one on Steam, and going to make a confession. I haven't played. Oh, do I dare say this? I've never played Fire Pro Wrestling. There, I said it. So here come out all the pitchforks and the knives. I have not played any of the Fire Pro. I mean, I've heard about them. I've read reviews on them, watched YouTube video reviews on them and stuff. Everyone praises how good it is and all that, but never got. I don't think it was widely available in the UK back in the day. I mean, it was a part of a Japanese game, which I think was fairly successful in America. I think it came on. Yeah, because honestly, I'd like back in the day, I don't ever remember seeing it on shelves or anything like that, or in any video game stores or stuff like that. So I don't really remember. And I'm not one of those type of guys that gets bootleg games and stuff. And I think you could do stuff like chip your console to play it or something like that. I remember hearing about you could do something to Sega Dreamcast to play the Japanese version and shit like that. Never got Fire Pro Returns with the PS2 because, again, I don't ever remember seeing it on a shelf. I mean, if I'd ever seen it in a store for like cheap, I'd probably got it, but Never played it, so I'm afraid. Then you got least favourite Nitro and Raw. That can't really answer that because look at Raw. I mean, well over 1,000 episodes, hasn't it? I mean, the 1,000 episodes 5 years ago, so I imagine we're up to about 1,300 plus by now. And there's been so many bad Raws over the years, so I can't really pick one. And ditto for Nitro. I mean, last 2 years in Nitro there were so many bad ones that I can't really say this was the worst Nitro ever because so many candidates. And then we got Brandon Alexander. Can you rank WWE pay-per-views of 1998 from least to great? I can do that, and I've got myself. I made a list here so I don't forget anything. Now, I'll say most of these pay-per-views are at least decent. Quite a few of them are good. There wasn't that many terrible pay-per-views, but and to make it simpler, I'm not going to count Capital Carnage, the UK only pay-per-view. Just going to count the standard American ones that everybody got. So we got number 12, ironically enough, the last pay-per-view of the year, In Your House Rock Bottom. That was a bad show all around for me. The only really good match was Mankind versus The Rock. Yeah, Undertaker Austin Buried Alive was decent enough, but most of the undercard was absolute shite. And then we got number 11, No Way Out of Texas, February 1998. Great main event, the Austin Cactus Jack Chainsaw Charlie Owen Hart versus Triple H, Outlaws and Savio Vega, street fight I think it was. That was a great main event. Couple of decent undercard matches such as Taka Michinoku versus Pantera, but a lot of crap in the middle, so not a good pay-per-view. Then we got number 10, In Your House Breakdown. Now this wasn't a terrible pay-per-view by any means, but again it was one of those. I think the common problem you see with WWF pay-per-views in 98, 95, you have great semi and good main events, but weak undercard. Except with one exception on this show, we had a really cool match between Edge and Owen Hart. A great match between Rock, Mankind and Ken Shamrock, but stuff like D'Lo Brown versus Gangrel, Droz versus Mark Mero, Too Much versus Al Snow and Too Cold Scorpio. This felt like Sunday Night Heat or first hour of Raw matches, not pay-per-view matches. Now, I'll say the rest of these pay-per-views were at least pretty good. But number 9, Unforgiven, had some nice gems on there. I mean, Triple H, Owen Hart had a good WrestleMania rematch. Austin and Dude Love was a cool main event. Not a good match as such, but Undertaker versus Kane in the Inferno match was an interesting spectacle to watch. And then what, number 8, Over the Edge. I'll edge that over Unforgiven. Because I think like Austin Dude Love was one of the better main events of the entire Attitude Era. That was an awesome match now. And then we got number 7, Fully Loaded. That was a solid pay-per-view overall. I think not a great pay-per-view or anything like that, but definitely some good stuff. And then we got number 6. I'll say the best of the In Your Houses was Judgment Day, which I thought was actually a good show overall. Now, ironically, the top 5 was the big 5 at the time. So number 5 goes to Royal Rumble. I mean, well, that was a good show overall. I mean, you had a pretty decent Royal Rumble. Undertaker, Shawn Michaels, great casket match. Rock and Ken Shamrock had a really cool little match for the Intercontinental title. And then we got number 4, King of the Ring. Thought that was a good show as well. Obviously, that's most remembered for the Undertaker, Mankind, Hell in a Cell match. Now the big 3, number 3, Survivor Series. I love Survivor Series 1998. I thought, yep, one of the better. I know it's not a great wrestling show, but I just love the whole Deadly Game tournament, which is kind of a question about that later on, but we'll get to that in a sec. Yeah, I thought that was just a great booked pay-per-view, and then obviously both the big 2 pay-per-views that year were awesome, and it's hard to separate them, but that's what I'm going to try and do, and that's what I have done. So, number 2, WrestleMania 14, one of the best WrestleManias of all time, just a great show. And then obviously number 1, SummerSlam 1998, I love that show. That's my second favourite SummerSlam of all time behind 2002. just overall great card. Then what have we got? I know in hindsight it was a mistake to turn Austin heel in 2001, agreed. But do you think WWE is trying to avoid the same mistake they made with Hogan during 92-93, when the crowd turned him after being a babyface for so long? Also factor in how much money they saw Hogan. So WWE would make by turning Hogan heel. I don't know if it was. I don't know. I don't really know if that's what they were thinking, to be honest. I mean, I'm not even sure they would have actually turned Hogan heel. I mean, remember I've interviewed Jericho a few years ago, and he said, because someone asked him about turning Cena heel, and Jericho said they wouldn't do it, and did he think Vince wouldn't turn Hogan heel back in the day? But while we're on that subject, that would have been interesting if he'd actually done that. Really interested to see how that would have went down. But yeah, I think it's one of those ones with Austin. I don't think it had anything to do with Hogan, and not turning Hogan heel really. But I think it was one of those ones. They just wanted to see how it worked. I suppose I would say, I don't know, maybe. Obviously, it was a mistake, but at the time, I could see what they were thinking, because it was something new and an interesting direction to go in, but it just didn't work. But I suppose it's one of those ones where at least they did it and we know it wouldn't work, instead of now looking back and thinking, what if they turned Austin heel? How would that have turned out? So yeah, then we got right. So dream match time. Rank these dream matches in order of what you would want to see the most. Assume every wrestler was still alive in the prime and the match would get over if the crowd was maximum potential. So he's got a list of here, so which I will now do in reverse order. So these are all great, actually, to be fair. So we got last one, Aztec Warfare match of these women: Chyna, the Four Horsewomen, Emma, Asuka, Ember Moon, Victoria, Molly Holly, Sexy Star, Ivelisse, Beth Phoenix, Trish Lita, Gail Kim, Awesome Kong, Mickie James, Alexa Bliss, and Naomi. So that would be the last one, although that'd be a great match. Sorry, yeah, I've got a burp now. I'm sorry about it. I'm going to have to try and not do that. But yeah, I think that'd be a good match. I don't think out of these ones to be least favourite. Then after that, Dean Ambrose versus Cactus Jack in a TV or a street fight. Yeah, and then we got after that. Have a look. So after that, Daniel Bryan versus Eddie Guerrero. I would say that'd be an amazing match, but not an absolute dream match for me. I think I'd prefer Eddie Guerrero versus Ring of Honor's Bryan Danielson to the WWE Daniel Bryan, to be honest with you. Then what we got here? CM Punk versus Randy Savage. Oh, that'd be cool as fuck, wouldn't it really? Then after that we have, just checking here, The Rock versus Triple H WrestleMania main event Hell in a Cell to include the career-long feud. Yep, that could have been great for WrestleMania 2000 if he'd done that. I mean, that would have been perfect, wouldn't it? Really. Now, this is on this list what I think would be the best match, like as in actual wrestling match and all that shit. AJ Styles versus Shawn Michaels. I mean, that's the match that fans were talking about this year for the Royal Rumble. I mean, if you remember those mock posters AJ Styles made, just imagine. I still think a 51-year-old Shawn Michaels versus AJ Styles could be at least a 4-star match, to be honest with you. I mean, if anyone can be retired for 7 years and come back and have an awesome match in his 50s, it's probably Shawn Michaels. But imagine Shawn in his prime versus AJ in his, wow. That would have been something. Now, the top two are both awesome dream matches, and it's hard to separate them, but I will. So, number 2 is Undertaker versus Sting. I mean, no need to open up this kind of worms again. I mean, talked about this a lot in prior videos and stuff like that. How they should have done it at WrestleMania 31, but they didn't. But that's whatever. And then number 1, obviously for me, Stone Cold versus Hulk Hogan. I mean, it's probably the match that got away, really, wasn't it? I mean, you got the two biggest icons in the history of this business for me. The biggest star of the whole little golden era, biggest star of the Attitude era. Just would have been a spectacle. Now, as far as a match, probably wouldn't have been all that great, to be honest with you. I mean, let's just be honest, as a match it probably wouldn't be that good, but who gives a shit? It's Hogan and Austin, and it would have been an incredible spectacle if we'd ever seen it. And yeah, just imagine, really, it'd be fucking amazing, wouldn't it? Then we got next questions. Golden McNugget. Do you feel like TLC won at WrestleMania? I think you meant to say TLC 2, but TLC at WrestleMania X7 is overrated. In brackets, I do. Yep, I do. I mean, I've said this in many videos in the past. I mean, I'm sure you've seen me WrestleMania reviews and all that. Rated as 4.25 star, but most people rated 5 stars. I've talked about this a lot, so I don't really want to go into detail about it again, but yes, I do. There we go. Why do you think it took WWE so long to finally give Christian the world title? I think there's a really simple explanation there. I think the simple explanation is Vince and other people didn't see that potential in him, to be honest. I mean, that's the thing when people ask, like, why hasn't WWE done this and why hasn't WWE done that? But the fact is, it's always one man's decision. It's always up to Vince. I mean, it's obvious Vince probably never ever really saw Christian as a main event guy. I mean, there's an awesome story I heard like years ago where Vince was like, ugh, I don't like Christian's face. I want to cover it up on TV with a blue spot. And then people were like, what, is he ugly or something? He's like, no, I don't know. I just don't like his face. That's always an all. That's honestly got a true story. Vince wanted to cover up Christian's face on TV with a big blue spot simply because Vince didn't like his face. But I think even back then you could tell WWE was always high on Edge. They always had high hopes of Edge. And then Christian was just kind of Christian wasn't buried or anything, but they definitely didn't see that potential in him. Despite how over Christian got at various times in his career. And Joe, to be honest, I only think he got that world title in the first place because Edge had to retire. I mean, honest to God, like, if Edge hadn't have retired, I honestly don't think Christian would ever have actually got that world title. I mean, it showed the faith in him when he fucking had him drop the title like 2 nights later to Randy Orton on SmackDown. Then his second reign, he won on a disqualification. Then he only had that one for a month as well before dropping it back to Orton at SummerSlam 2011. So yeah, that's it basically. I mean, I'd wrap it on a bit there, but the short answer is I just don't think Vince saw that in him. What are your thoughts on AJ Styles going for a WWE US champion now? This is one of the ones that are outdated now because since that time he asked a question, and to the time I've answered it, AJ's already lost the title back to Kevin Owens at Battleground. Yeah, not gonna lie, it was kind of cool that he won a title in MSG. But you're right though, you're absolutely right. I mean, I just got the sense, I appreciate the fact that AJ got a title, but I just can't help but he was holding the wrong title. I mean, for me, AJ Styles should be the WWE champion right now. I mean, call me crazy here, but is AJ Styles not the best all-round talent and the most over full-time guy on SmackDown? Is that just me? And if he is, isn't it logical for like the best all-round performer in the company and the most to be the champion? Just a thought. I mean, not shitting on Jinder Mahal. I don't really want to do that on here, but I don't know. It's just show the decline of SmackDown that we fucking went from AJ Styles and John Cena feuding for the title at the start of the year to Bray Wyatt having a horrible reign, Randy Orton having a reign, and now Randy Orton and Jinder Mahal was the main feud on SmackDown. Yeah, I just feel like they should have put the title back on AJ Styles, Backlash or something like that, and he should be the champion now. But who am I to say I'm not booking this shit? I'm just a fan. This is another one's out of date, but I'll answer it anyway. Do you think Ruth's recent return from SmackDown will be wasted? Well, certainly wasn't it really? I mean, came back, did the thing with Cena, basically got fed to Cena again to wait. I'm recording this on Tuesday morning, but I might have to do it in 2 parts, so SmackDown would have probably already aired by the time this video goes out, so which we'll have a clear idea of what Cena's doing at SummerSlam. But on Tuesday morning, I'm presuming he's going after Jinder for the WWE title. But yeah, so I feel like so he basically lost to Cena, and like basically just a rerun of this 2015 all over again. I mean, we had Cena hammer Rusev 2 years ago, but you really need to do that again. So yeah, if you can recommend any SmackDown pay-per-view to watch from the original brand split, what would it be? So if I had to do one, I'd have to go for the first one, Vengeance 2003. If you haven't seen that pay-per-view, great show all round. I mean, you had some great matches on the Chris Benoit versus Eddie Guerrero US title tournament final. That was a fantastic match, as you would expect. Really hell of a gem between Rey Mysterio and Billy Kidman versus the world's greatest tag team. That was one of the most underrated matches in WWE history, in my opinion. You should definitely check that one out. The only ever pay-per-view match between The Undertaker versus John Cena, back when Taker was the American Badass and then John Cena was the young rapper. So that's a really cool match to watch. Even Vince McMahon's Zach Gowen's not that bad, which it's funny when you think about it. You got a 19-year-old one-legged wrestler facing 50. I can't remember how old he was at the time. About 57, something like that. 57-year-old, 58 Vince McMahon, and then obviously the main event, Brock Lesnar, Kurt Angle versus The Big Show, was a really good triple threat match. So yeah, Vengeance 2003. Then we got a Tie-Oversary. Why was WWE so bad in 2010? A lot of reasons overall. I mean, there's quite a few reasons. Yeah, definitely this was a bad year and one of the worst years of the PG era. Definitely, I just feel like the shows were pretty bad that year. I mean, this was also a year where I feel like WWE's failure to adequately build stars was coming through. I mean, because a lot of the guys that they relied on over the years were leaving. Batista left the company that year. He was one of the top guys. Shawn Michaels retired that year. Triple H and The Undertaker basically semi-retired that year. I mean, Taker had that. This was Taker's like last year being even remotely a full-timer. Triple H was gone for most of the year. Then you had stuff like Sheamus's bad title reign, if you remember that. I mean, wasn't it? Yeah, it was a lot like Jinder Mahal actually, in the respect that Sheamus was rushed to the world title and he just wasn't really prepared for it. Do you remember Jack Swagger's horrific? I'll actually say Jinder Mahal's title reign looks like Bruno Sammartino's of Hulk Hogan's compared to Jack Swagger's world title reign in 2010. That was just disgraceful, to be honest with you. This is the year Cena started getting really stale. I mean, being consistently the top guy for 5 years now, but he was still winning all of his feuds and all that shit. They had a bunch of guys that year who they failed to really utilise. I mean, Kofi Kingston's momentum from late 2009 just petered out. They had Drew McIntyre's early momentum just petered out, and they had someone like Ted DiBiase Jr. who could have been a star, but then his star faded. I mean, only people that were really elevated that year were Wade Barrett, The Miz, and Sheamus. And even Sheamus took a while. Pay-per-view quality was so-so. I mean, there were some good pay-per-views that year, but there's quite a few mediocre ones as well. I think the WrestleMania that year was pretty good. Not a great show or anything like that, but a good show. SummerSlam was Survivor Series was just okay, I think. There's stuff like that now, bragging rights and four-way random pay-per-views like that just weren't very good. Obviously the botch of the Nexus storylines, a big X mark on me. I really hated the way that ended. I mean, initially that looked like an awesome angle, but they fucked it up. And then to be a fact, as much as I thought the storyline was actually pretty decent, the fact that Undertaker and Kane were wrestling over the world title in 2010 was just like, what? I mean, let's face it, some of those Undertaker Kane matches in 2010 sucked balls, didn't it, really? So then obviously the whole Cena where Cena got fired storyline, but he never actually got fired because he never actually missed a show. That was just bullshit. And that really fucked me off because that could have been an interesting angle and a nice chance there. I think CM Punk had a bad year that year, but at least the second half of the year, I mean, after the Rey Mysterio feud where he got his head shaved, then he had a mediocre feud with the Big Show, and then went to Raw and really didn't do much at all. So a lot of reasons really why 2010 was a bad year. Then we got I think 2008 is underrated and overlooked because the company went PG. I do think it's underrated and overlooked, but not sure if it going PG is the reason, because it was why he went PG after July. But this might sound sad to some people, but I feel like 2010 is probably the last year that I truly enjoyed the product. I really liked WWE in 2008. I think it was actually a pretty damn good product. I mean, you had a nice group of guys out there. I mean, you still had your veterans such as Taker, Triple H, Shawn Michaels, Chris Jericho and all that. Then you had like the guys that had come up in the Ruthless Aggression years, like John Cena, Batista, Randy Orton, people like Edge, and then you had people like Rey Mysterio, Jeff Hardy, and CM Punk. You had a pretty damn good record on pay-per-view that year. I mean, WrestleMania 24 was one of the better years. Then you had some amazing feuds such as Jericho and Shawn Michaels. I mean, that's an epic feud. Undertaker versus Edge on the SmackDown side of things. So, yeah, I think looking back, it is actually pretty overlooked, to be honest with you, and underrated as well. Maybe one day we'll do a Q&A on that, who knows. What have we got? Do you think NXT has lost its specialness? Yeah, I do. I mean, I think it's been that for a while, for about a good year, to be honest with you. Not that NXT is a bad show, but I think it's inconsistent now, I think. I mean, I don't watch NXT religiously like I used to. I would say if there's like 4 weeks of NXT, I've probably watched 2 of them, or like 3 out of 5, or something like that. I mean, I watched last week's show, and then what was the last one I watched? I watched the one with Asuka, Nikki Cross, and the one with Bobby Roode and Roderick Strong. But yeah, I remember like 2-3 years ago, I watched NXT every week without fail, because I really liked the product of it. And I do like the product now to an extent, but definitely not like I did 2 years ago. I feel like the absolute peak of NXT, in my opinion, was probably around the time of our evolution to the first takeover. And I think there's a big reason why it's lost its specialness. That one, I feel like the product peaked because it was a very hot product and they just couldn't sustain it. Obviously, 2, I think they lost the head writer, didn't they? He left, was it Ryan Ward? He left and went to SmackDown, and then all that. But I think the reality of NXT is this. I mean, WWE could hype NXT as this third brand and all that, but at the end of the day, it's developmental territory. At the end of the day, that's the reality of what it is. I mean, it's a breeding ground for Raw and SmackDown. It's always going to be that way. And then, also, obviously, with that, you're always going to be consistently losing your best talent. And it's really, so let's look at the roster, like, so let's take over Rival in February 2015. Look at the guys you had in that show. Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn, Adrian Neville, Finn Balor, Hideo Itami, Tyler Breeze, the 4 Horsewomen, Charlotte, Becky, Sasha Banks, Bayley, people like that. You can't really replace people like that. I mean, then later on, Samoa Joe came in, Shinsuke Nakamura came in, and then so when those guys inevitably go up to Raw, SmackDown, which is the whole point of them signing with the WWE. The women, for example, Charlotte, Bayley, Sasha Banks, Becky Lynch. If you lose all them, how the fuck do you replace them? I mean, granted, Asuka's done a great job, but I mean, and looks like maybe now if Ember Moon, Ruby Riott, Nikki Cross get some of the win for the Mae Young Classic, they might finally rebuild the division. And then you look at the men's side. How would you replace a Kevin Owens, for example? How would you replace a guy who's important as NXT as Sami Zayn, Samoa Joe? So talent like that does not grow on trees. But I feel like 2014, 2015, they had an unprecedented talented roster, which I just don't think they'll be able to duplicate, to be honest with you. So once there, and obviously the draft happened last year, and I think NXT was a big victim of that. I mean, they got the roster raided. I mean, American Alpha went, who else went? Bailey and most of the women's division went, like Nia Jax, Carmella, Alexa Bliss all went. So yeah, now you've got some great guys in NXT, don't get me wrong. I mean, Bobby Roode's doing a really good job. Roderick Strong seems to be quite popular with the Full Sail crowd. You got Drew McIntyre, then the tag division you've got Authors of Pain. Women's division you've got Asuka, Nikki Cross, but is that as good as the talent 2 years ago? I don't think so. And obviously I think the big one that people don't talk about, because I listen to a lot of wrestling podcasts like Stone Cold's, Jericho's, JR's, Bruce Pritchard's with Conrad Thompson, all that. But so then like a lot of WWE guys getting these podcasts, especially ones who used to be on NXT, and every single one of them, from Kevin Owens to Bayley to Baron Corbin to, I don't know, fucking Sami Zayn and all that, they all talk about how they were influenced by Dusty Rhodes. Dusty Rhodes was one of the main guys down helping at NXT, and pretty much every single one of them talk about how Dusty Rhodes helped them with the characters and stuff like that, and gave them great advice on promos. So when Dusty died 2 years ago, they lost him. So I think they lost a vital part of the development when Dusty Rhodes died, which I don't think they've replaced him either. I mean, because let's face it, who can take Dusty Rhodes' place when it comes to promo and character development? It's really hard, isn't it? Then we got Force Undoing 2012. It's a pretty underrated year. Yeah, that's a funny one. So I've got this question. Like, I read it before, like I answered it and all that. I'm thinking that was 5 years ago. And I have to say, not that I think 2012 was a great year or anything, but I do think looking back, 2012 was actually a pretty decent year. I mean, it was you had some pretty good shows. I mean, I thought the build-up and WrestleMania 28 was really good that year. You had Extreme Rules was an excellent pay-per-view. SummerSlam was a pretty good show. I think it's aged well, put it that way. I really do. I mean, you had stuff like Punk's title reign, which Punk was a champion for the entire year, which was kind of cool. Daniel Bryan's rise to a superstar that year, that was really good to see. Dolph Ziggler rising and winning the Money in the Bank that year. I know Ziggler's world title reign was a flop in 2013, and he got injured and all that, but he had a really good year. Jericho still around. You had cool moments like Brock Lesnar returning. AJ Lee was doing pretty well for a cell that year. The start of Team Hell No, which I loved. I don't care what anyone says. So yeah, and obviously Cena wasn't champion at all that year, although he was main eventing. And obviously Ryback as well came through, became a star. We got the debut of the Shield at Survivor Series 2012, so obviously The Rock was around for a little bit. But like I said, I always thought WrestleMania 28 is pretty underrated, and I did really like that build up to the first Cena Rock match. That being said, there were some bad points as well. I mean, this was a year Raw went 3 hours, and something they've never quite come back from. So I always remember 2012 as being the year that Raw went 3 hours and things were never quite the same again. The storyline of Cena and AJ, are they having an affair, are they not? Pretty pathetic rip-off of the AJ Styles Claire Lynch angle in TNA that year. What the fuck was all that about? Randy Orton kind of had a mediocre year in 2012, didn't he? That's just an observation. Oh, I thought Sheamus had an underrated world title run that year. So yeah, I feel like looking at it now, 5 years later, I do feel like 2012's aged quite well, and holy fucking shit, is it a million times better than the product now? Well, I think so anyway. So I'll say 2011, 2012 were the best 2 years of the PG era, definitely. Then we got what have we got here? How much did CM Punk leave and affect the WWE? Well, let's just see what the immediate effect was. That had a immediate effect on WrestleMania that year, because penciled in was CM Punk versus Triple H in a one-on-one match. So with Punk leaving, Triple H had an opponent, needed an opponent, and that guy was Daniel Bryan. Now, I do feel like with the crowd reaction towards Batista, and more importantly the positive crowd reaction towards Daniel Bryan, they would have found a way to insert Bryan at the WrestleMania main event anyway. But with Punk leaving, that made the path a lot easier, because he could slot him into that match with Triple H, which would do the stipulation that if he won, he got into the match. So yeah, there's that one as well. I feel like obviously Punk leaving, a lot of people got the chances, like Cesaro and stuff like that. Obviously the Shield turned face, so I feel like a lot of guys got more chances that they might not have got if they had Punk around. That being said, negative effect, obviously at the time WWE had really only 3 super hot, like, full-time stars. John Cena, Bryan and CM Punk, and then maybe Randy Orton to an extent. So, and obviously, so I would say that Punk was the number 2 star in the company behind Cena at the time. I do feel like he was a bigger name than Daniel Bryan at the time, I really do. Despite how hot Bryan was, and obviously, then I'll tell you when it affected it actually. So, do you remember when Daniel Bryan was a champion and he got injured and he had to give up the belt? And then WWE had no choice but to put the belt back on Cena, because there was quite literally nobody else. So if Punk was around, Punk could have got the title and had another run as WWE champion in 2014. So, and obviously you got the fucking... So yeah, I think that's really how it affected them. And then we got next set of questions. Greedy Selfish 97. Oh, this is a nice one. How would you book a WWE War Games match of the 2017 roster? So, I think it's a great time and a great place to do that. And the place is Survivor Series. So, if you remember, so how would I book it? So, remember last year when you had the Raw and SmackDown Survivor Series? Is that an actual proper sentence? Probably not. Obviously, the men's Survivor Series match was awesome. So, how about this year? Because they lost last year, the Raw... Let's assume Stephanie McMahon's back by then. So, Kurt Angle and Stephanie could make the challenge to SmackDown for another showdown this year. But let's make it more interesting. Instead of having a traditional Survivor Series match, let's have a inter-brand War Games match. So, and the talent in there now... For Raw, and this was hard to do because I had to leave someone major out. So I would have, and I know that this will probably sound like, ugh, really? Raw be captained by Roman Reigns, and then yes, really. Now let's assume Brock Lesnar's a lazy part-time prick and isn't involved in this. So, yeah, Roman Reigns, Seth Rollins, Dean Ambrose, the 3 Shield guys who I want in there. And to get Ambrose in there, I had to take out Finn Balor, because I had Finn Balor in there originally, but I really did want to have I really did want all 3 Shield guys in there, so I had to sacrifice Finn Balor, and then the other 2 guys, the Monster Among Men, Braun Strowman and Samoa Joe. And then so the SmackDown team, and again this is going to sound, probably the IWC, some people might hate me for this, but SmackDown will be captained by John Cena. I mean, yes, I'm sorry, but yes, I know Cena and Reigns team captains and all that shit, but I'm just being realistic and being honest about it. So the team SmackDown, of course, and I'm assuming Jinder Mahal's no longer champion by this point. Jinder Mahal's push had probably petered out, so I'll go Team SmackDown, John Cena, Randy Orton, AJ Styles, Shinsuke Nakamura and Baron Corbin. Now, I have Corbin in there for a reason, and that's because obviously Raw has the big monster in Braun Strowman, so SmackDown should have their big monster in Baron Corbin. So I feel like that could be a match of the year contender right there, just to put myself over a little bit. But yeah, that's how I would do it. Then we got wrestling pay-per-views that you like that everyone else hates in bracket. SummerSlam 1995 and 4, Brawl 2000 can't be count, since I know you like those ones. So okay, so we'll take those ones out. Not that many really, but I thought mainly the older ones really that I feel like a lot of people don't like as much as me. I mean, I like WrestleMania 4 for example. I mean, now was this a good wrestling show? Absolutely not. Most of the wrestling was quite mediocre, but I liked the whole tournament and how that played out, and then how like DiBiase paid Andre to sacrifice himself to eliminate Hogan. How so DiBiase would get the bye, and then how the babyface Macho Man had to wrestle 4 times. Then at the end, how Macho Man won the WWF title. That was an awesome moment. But you had other cool stuff on there, like Demolition winning the first tag team titles. Bret Hart's first big face, well, not a big face turn, but he turned face in the opening Battle Royal. You had the Ultimate Warriors singles pay-per-view debut, that one as well. So I'll probably say WrestleMania 4 is probably a standout one. Another one from I thought Rumble 1995 was a really good show, which I don't think it gets much credit at all. I mean, I think thanks to Shawn Michaels, that Royal Rumble match was at least good. No, I'm not saying it's a great Rumble, but people kind of say like that's the worst Rumble match ever. Not one of the worst, but I feel like Shawn Michaels, and to a lesser extent British Bulldog, made that actually a solid Royal Rumble with it. But I thought the undercard was great. I mean, you had Razor Ramon versus Jeff Jarrett in a really good match for the Intercontinental title. A really underrated match between Bam Bam Bigelow and Tatanka versus 1-2-3 Kid and Bob Holly. And then the Bret Hart Diesel match I thought was excellent. So I'll go for those two as really standout ones. And we got what are your 5 favourite women's wrestlers of all time? So I'm going to revert back to my list here, which I made, because before I did this, I did a big list. Like I wrote all the lists down in a separate document so I wouldn't forget. So number 5, Bayley. I mean, yes, the main roster run has sucked quite a bit, to be honest with you, but I still have hope that maybe she'll get as over as I think she could be. But I'm a big fan of her work, but it just hasn't gone well, has it really? Then number 4, Awesome Kong / Karma. Wow, I just imagine how different things could have been for her. I mean, watched her in TNA back in 2007, 2008. Absolutely loved the work. I mean, this was a true fucking badass bitch. And then I was so excited when she got to the WWE, and was those vignettes for Karma were awesome. And like the first month in the company where she was just coming out and beating up random girls, and then she got pregnant and then gave birth to a stillborn, and obviously with that she was naturally massively depressed about that, which, why wouldn't you be? That's a really tragic thing to happen for someone. And she left the WWE and never came back, which is just sad. I mean, I think her and Beth Phoenix could have really had a really good feud for the women's title in 2011, 2012. Then obviously, like, the new wave of women coming, I mean, she's still relatively young, I think. I think she's at the most probably very early 40s, so she could have done a good job now, but that's whatever. Then number 3, AJ Lee, which, again, I think it's a shame that we never truly got to see the best of AJ Lee, but I feel like she did a hell of a job of desperately trying to make that Divas title seem important in like 2012, 2013, and whenever it was. And yeah, obviously she was one of the best characters on the show. And when she was champion, she tried so hard, but this was the time where WWE still weren't giving women the chances. And then, ironically enough, She left in 2015, right before the likes of Sasha, Charlotte, Becky and all that came up. So, and she's, believe it or not, AJ Lee's actually younger than me, but she was born in 87, I think, so I think she's still only 30, AJ now, so if she'd have stayed, she probably would be having the best matches of her career right now. Just saying. And number 2, even though her career's far from over, got to be Charlotte Flair. I mean, honestly, I've been watching her for like 3 years now, and honestly, I just think she's really, probably, I think she's on her way to becoming the best women's wrestler ever. I mean, she's not there yet, because she hasn't built up a legacy enough yet, but she's done so much so far. I mean, match quality has been awesome, and then her and Sasha main evented Raw. Her and Sasha, in 2 birds with 1 stone, had the first women's Hell in a Cell match and main evented a pay-per-view. So yeah, hopefully the next 2 or 3 years Charlotte will do more, and maybe in a few years she'll be number 1 on the list. But number 1 has to be Trish Stratus. I mean, big fan of her. I think she's the most successful woman of all time in the WWE. Obviously, great character, great look. I mean, but Trish is someone I truly watched grow up in the business. So I saw her from the start to finish. So saw her come through as a super hot model in 2000, manager of TNA, and then obviously she was just there for eye candy because she's not bad to look at, is she? She was pretty fucking hot. And then slowly she wrestles a little bit, then wrestles a little bit more, and she's not good at first. I mean, let's be honest. Not many people are good when they start out. I mean, that's natural. Wrestling's a pretty hard thing to learn. Then obviously slowly by surely she got better throughout 2002, 2003, to the point where she became awesome. Obviously good mic work as well. Like I say, looks, I mean, I'm pretty obvious, she's pretty fucking hot, right? So yeah, it's got Trish Stratus is still number 1 in my book. But like I said, maybe pretty soon Charlotte Flair will surpass her. And then also in WWE ECW from 2009 2010. I actually, looking back, I remember liking ECW in 2009 2010. I mean, once you got past the fact that this wasn't the original ECW, this was just a glorified development, because it kind of was, really, wasn't it, a more high profile development, because guys are coming from developmental and go to ECW first in a less pressurised environment and then get ready for on SmackDown. So I'll say from 2008 onwards, I finally got the whole ECW bug out of my system, just finally accepted this isn't the ECW from the past, this is something different. Well, I think the big thing that helped that show, and obviously helps NXT now, the fact it was 1 hour long, so you don't have to spend too much of your time following it. I think they had especially 2009, I think they had a really good roster. I mean, they had great veterans on that show, such as Christian carrying the show, William Regal. Was Finlay on that show in 2009? He might have been, I think he was, I'm not 100% sure. I'm pretty sure Shelton Benjamin was on there as well. I think they got Goldust, and you got guys coming up Sheamus really got a start in that program. Jack Swagger, I mean, Jack Swagger did a really good job on ECW early on. Then Yoshi Tatsu, if you remember him, had a nice little run on ECW. Then you had, was Hart Dynasty originally? I think Hart Dynasty was originally on there, weren't they? I think so. I mean, this is quite 7 years ago now, so I do tend to forget a few little things. I mean, I think Ezekiel Jackson went on that show and got booked well, so. And the sad thing is the network. So the network recently uploaded all the WWE ECW shows, but they cut it off at March 2000 now. Hopefully the next few weeks will add the rest of them, so yeah, so I actually liked it. And then last question, have you ever watched Glow in the brackets, the original 80s promotion? No, I haven't. I never had any desire to watch it, and I just never have. And for that matter, I still haven't watched the Netflix version as well. I've been meaning to, because, don't tell him this, but I know my brother's Netflix password, so sometimes I sneak onto his Netflix sometimes. But don't tell him that, shh. But yeah, I've been meaning to watch the Netflix Glow, but I just never have, because I've heard pretty decent reviews about it, so I'm sure eventually I will watch it. I mean, if I have a week off work or something and I've got nothing to do, I might just do that. Then we got next question. Jerichoholic 8704. Any embarrassing wrestling stories? Yep, I certainly do have some embarrassing wrestling. I'll share some with you then. How about that? So, one that stands out for me, it didn't happen that long ago, about 6-7 years ago, something like that. So I was waiting for a football game to start. I can't remember what it was, but in the meantime, it was a Saturday. It was an early Saturday morning kickoff, so it would have been about midday on a Saturday, and I was waiting for a football to start. So in the meantime, I briefly flicked over to Superstars. Santino, I think it was Superstars. Santino Marella had a match, and then what I made the mistake of doing is watching this while my dad was also in the room. And then so obviously Santino Marella does the stupid Cobra move, and my dad just looked at me like, my dad's reaction was just like, how the hell's that supposed to hurt? And I was just like, oh God, that was so embarrassing. It's like, what the fuck do I say to that? Like, how can I actually defend that? I think that the look of disgust on his face as well was, I think he was just thinking, where the fuck did I go wrong as a parent to raise an adult who watches this shit? Just, yeah. Oh God. Just, honestly, like, and I think like another incident as well. Do you remember this is with my brother this time, so do you know when Jack Swagger had that fucking eagle mascot and that was on the screen, and he just kept asking me about it, and I was just squirming so much because I didn't want to explain to him that why I was watching a show with where the man had a chicken mascot or an eagle mascot or whatever the fuck it was. Oh God, so bad. Or how about the time in PE when I was like about 13 or something like that, where I got sent to the headmaster's office for trying to powerbomb somebody in PE. Yes, that really happened. I mean, God, I was such a fucking dork. And yes, I am such a dork now, but I actually tried to powerbomb someone in PE because, I don't know, I'm a big wrestling nerd, I suppose. Got sent to the headmaster's office. Another one. Oh God. So yeah, so do you remember when Jericho and The Rock had that promo before the Royal Rumble where Chris Jericho's like, no, this is not a joke. I am not a joke. I am serious. So, for whatever reason, in a lesson of skill, I think it was art, I actually parried that promo, and the teacher was just like, Craig, what you doing? I just think it was like, I think he must have looked at me and thought, my God, he is a fucking spacker. In a few years, I'm going to hear about how he's fucking just gone to jail or something. He was just like, that literally was his reaction. He was just like, Craig, what are you doing? I was just like, didn't really have an answer for that. Oh, and another one, I think I told Diesel this a few months ago on Astor FM, so this is actually quite embarrassing talking about now. I mean, how could I literally be this clueless? So, back then, I honest to God didn't get what The Rock was talking about getting pie and eating pie and all that. Like, back then, it went over my head completely. I didn't get that it was an innuendo for getting fucking laid and getting pussy. I just thought, The Rock must really like pie, mustn't he? He must like to eat a lot of pie. Then it was years later I finally figured out that he was an innuendo for getting pussy, so that is quite embarrassing to think about how clueless I was. That I didn't, and I wasn't like a kid then, I was like about 14 or 13 or 14 or something. God, I was a Yeah, I was quite a bit of a loser back then, and I am a loser now, but that's another issue entirely. There we go. Next question. Do you think Daniel Bryan should wrestle once his contract is up? Now, do I think he should wrestle? No, I honestly don't. But do I think he will wrestle? I honestly do. I think he's got his heart set in it. But let's just look at this. I mean, he's mid-30s now. I mean, let's be honest. WWE won't claim him for a reason. He's had so many concussions in his career. To the point where he was actually getting seizures because of concussions. So WWE aren't just being dicks here. They're not just holding him back to be fucking arseholes and to screw the fans, as some people might think. There's actually a legitimate reason why they're not letting Daniel Bryan wrestle. I mean, if he wrestles again and gets more concussions, that could seriously fuck... If he gets permanent brain damage, that'll seriously fuck him up. I mean, thing about brain injuries is the brain heals if it heals. No one's really sure. But now he's got an awesome wife. I mean, you can tell like Brie absolutely loves him, and they have a great relationship and all that. And now he's got a great job with WWE. I mean, he's SmackDown general manager. He doesn't have to get hurt. He flies out to TV once a week, twice a week on pay-per-view weeks. It's a great gig for him. I mean, he's probably, and obviously money he made in WWE. He's probably got more money than he'll ever need. Add that Brie Bella probably makes good money as well doing Total Bellas and shit like that. So financially, he doesn't need the money. So it's not like he's a guy who wastes all of his money, is now broke and has to wrestle for money. He doesn't have to do that. He doesn't have to wrestle. And now, obviously, the obvious one now, he's just had a baby. So if he gets fucked up, how's that going to impact her? I mean, if he gets fucked up, his head gets fucked up with concussions. Can he look after it properly? That he should be thinking about that. So of all those factors, I would say it's not worth the risk. Just this also the fact that he done more in his career than I imagine he ever thought he would. I mean, come on, who the fuck thought Daniel Bryan would headline WrestleMania? Who the fuck even thought he would be anywhere near a main event star in the WWE? I mean, so he really does have nothing to prove. He had an awesome career. He had a collection of great matches that will stand the test of time. So, of all those factors, I would say, I hope he doesn't. He should not, but I just think he will. I think the way he talks in interviews, he thinks he can do it. I think he just has his heart set in it. He just doesn't want to let it go, which I think would be a big mistake. And then 2017 wrestling fans, they're a lot more vocal about the thoughts and opinions on certain promotions, wrestlers, bookers, etc. Has this increased knowledge from the fans hurt the wrestling business? Possibly. I think it's harsh to say that the knowledge has hurt the wrestling business, because I mean, the wrestling business hurt. Things, would fans be so vocal about like all this shit if WWE was actually giving them a product that they liked? I mean, I think that's the problem. Like, when I see people complaining about WWE and all that, I mean, I can see the point, because let's be honest, this isn't a good show right now. Hasn't been a good show for a long time. So if WWE was consistently performing and giving the fans great shows, would fans be as vocal about it? I mean, you can't really say that dissatisfaction is unwarranted, because I feel like it is. And I just feel like the world, I think a lot of fans had this knowledge a long time ago, but obviously social media is now blown up, so I think there's just a lot more platforms for fans to express their opinions, like Facebook, Twitter, fucking YouTube, Ask.fm, Instagram. Whereas back in the day, we had chat rooms and internet forums and stuff like that. So social media wasn't as big like, say, 15, 12 years ago, something like that. I feel like obviously WWE, the casual viewers are slipping from WWE. So what WWE has now is these hardcore vocal fans now. That's the majority of the fan base nowadays, because think WWE's done a bad job of keeping the casual fans. So I think it's mainly the hardcore fans that go to the arenas now who will do these chants and stuff like that. So I feel like I can understand if people say it has hurt the business, but I feel like the wrestling business hurt the wrestling business more than the fans do. I really do. And then we got once Vince steps down and hands over control of WWE to Triple H and Stephanie, how much do you think the WWE will change? That's an interesting one, because the sad thing is we don't know when that's going to be. That could be a year's time, that could be 5 years' time. Vince could live to his 95, 100 and still be in charge for all we know. And obviously Vince McMahon is extremely healthy for a 72, well, for a person, to be honest. I mean, he's 72 and he's in far better shape than I am. So it's conceivable that Vince could just fucking live forever and ever and be fucking still in charge of WWE in 20 years' time. So, but I think it's one of those ones where I think everyone just assumes when Vince steps down, Triple H and Stephanie will take over WWE, things will be instantly better. Who knows, they might. I don't know. I'm not sure if WWE will be absolutely amazing when they retire, but I think some of the things you'll notice, I think Triple H will get rid of Vince's old guard, the likes of Kevin Dunn and people like that who've worked for the company for years. And let's be honest, a lot of them are just kiss Vince's arse all day long. People like John Laurinaitis and people like that. So I mean, like, the background staff will change dramatically. I think there's a big overhaul of people that work for the company. And I feel like an interesting one. I'm really, because I don't know if you, cause I feel like if you've seen Triple H and Regal together, I feel like Regal is like Triple H's right hand man. So I feel like with Triple H and Stephanie, I feel like Regal will have a massive role in the company. I think it's sort of like a Vince and Pat Patterson relationship. No homophobic jokes there, people. But in all seriousness, like, for years, Patterson was Vince's right hand man. Yeah, did an awesome job. I feel like Regal will be that for Triple H. So I think there'll be less silly things like outside ventures that Vince likes to do. I think Triple H and Stephanie will try and Triple H in particular, maybe not Stephanie so much. So I feel like Triple H will try and focus on the wrestling side of things. Well, you've seen how Triple H booked NXT in the past, I think, and that's kind of how he'll want to have the main roster be. But admittedly, that's going to be hard to recreate the NXT formula on Raw in a 3-hour show. So I think if you've seen stuff Triple H has done, such as create the Cruiserweight Classic, the United Kingdom Tournament, the Mae Young Classic, so I feel like Triple H is a lot more in touch with what modern wrestling fans want than what Vince McMahon wants. So I think we'll get a product to reflect. It probably won't be perfect by any means, but I think we'll definitely have a better product overall. I mean, you've seen the talent Triple H has signed over the last 2 or 3 years. So it's obvious to me Triple H has a keen eye on talent, and he knows talent when he sees it. I mean, he hired the likes of Kevin Owens, Samoa Joe, Finn Balor, people like that. So pretty obvious Triple H has his finger on the pulse when it comes to hiring talent. He doesn't just hire some guy because he's tall and has big muscles. He actually knows talent when he sees it. So it's going to be interesting, really is. And that's going to be a weird time in wrestling, I think, when that happens. I mean, a WWE without Vince McMahon is just, I don't know, trying to think of a comparison. It's hard to really come up with a good comparison, really, isn't it? I mean, Vince has been there, he's been running the company since 1982. Then before that, his dad was running it, and Vince was heavily involved at various times. So it's going to be a really, 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 really interesting time, I think, in the business. When Vince finally or maybe Vince will just be in the role till he dies, I don't know. But yeah, and then last question. Has PG ever really been a problem in WWE? No. I honestly don't see the PG rating as being a problem. It's the booking that's a problem. It's the way they run the show that's a problem. You can have a great show in a PG environment. You really can. I mean, I hear from time to time people saying, "Oh, this sucks. It needs to be like it was in the Attitude Era," when it really doesn't. Or just go back to TV 14. So, alright then. So let's say WWE goes back to TV 14 tomorrow. Say like we're on the internet tonight, and then we get the announcement that they're no longer PG. They're back to TV 14. Do you think anything? Do you ever think all the problems that you have is going to still be there? That's what annoys me about people like that. They go on about bringing the Attitude Era back, bringing back TV 14, but that's not really going to solve any of the problems. Like, even if the show was TV 14, the show would still suck because it's booked poorly and the characters suck and all that sort of fucking shit. So let's be honest. SmackDown as an example. Is SmackDown going to actually improve if it goes PG? No. I mean, if it goes TV 14, no, it's not. Better booking and storylines will improve the show, not a TV rating. And yes, I went on a bit of a tangent there, but oh god, I feel a lot better getting that off my chest now, actually. But so yeah, so thanks for the questions, Mr. Jerichoholic. Next set of questions come from Owen Peterson. First one is 10 wrestlers you want the WWE to make DVD sets about. Well, thing is, I feel like nowadays, like, because they've been doing this thing for a long time, so they've pretty much hit nearly everybody I want them to do. But I've got a list here of just a few guys that they've got left. So number 10, I guess Sergeant Slaughter. That's a guy that they never did for whatever reason. I mean, there's a particular reason why they haven't done him before, but that'll be a pretty decent documentary, I think. And then obviously you've got footage of way back at Crockett Promotions. You've got early 80s stuff, title matches with Bob Backlund, the Alley fighter Pat Patterson you could put on there. Stuff with Crockett with him and Don Canoodle versus Ricky Steamboat and Jay Youngblood. Boot camp match of the Iron Sheik, and then obviously his later run, you can all put that on there. Number 9 is the current superstar, and they are making one about him, but I'm not sure if it's a full-on documentary or not. But AJ Styles, I mean, but it'd be awesome if you could negotiate with Anthem to get the rights to some of the TNA footage, so you could have WWE and TNA matches on there. That'd be pretty sweet. Then Christian's another one. They haven't done one on him yet, which it'd be nice if they did. Now, this one's a non-wrestler, but they've done non-wrestlers before, such as Paul Heyman, and I would love to see a documentary on Jim Ross. That'd be pretty awesome. Booker T's never had one before. That'd be pretty good. And number 5, I would say, this would be awesome for me anyway, but I'd love to see like a 2-hour Bruno Sammartino documentary. I mean, obviously, I didn't grow up in the 60s and 70s because I wasn't alive. I'm not that old, but I just get fascinated when I listen to Bruno Sammartino stories. I just love them. I just love hearing him talk about the past and all that. I mean, they did Legends of JBL about him last year, but it was like a 45-minute thing. But how the hell can you tell Bruno's story in 45 minutes? I mean, this was the guy that carried the WWF from 1963 till about 1977 or something like that. So, it'd be fucking awesome, I think. So anyway, then number 4, the $1 Million Man, Ted DiBiase. Again, another guy they haven't done before, and there's no obvious reason why. I mean, they've got a lot of his footage from Georgia, from Mid-South. Obviously, his $1 Million Man stuff. That'd be fucking amazing. Then number 3, I would say the British Bulldog. They did Owen Hart last year, so it'd be really great if they could do a British Bulldog documentary. They could go back to his home, talk to his family and stuff like that, show where he trained and stuff, talk to his ex-wife, his son, Hearts and stuff like that. They could show some Stampede footage. They could even maybe get in touch with whoever owns the Old World of Sport footage and show some of that. That'd be pretty sweet. And obviously he's got a nice collection of WWF work. That'd be cool. And then, now this one's kind of cheating because they are kind of doing it, but you got to go with because there's a Kurt Angle DVD on the way, but it's straight up match compilations. So I would really love it if they did like a full Kurt Angle career documentary, and obviously all these matches as well. That'd be cool. And number one for me, now it looks like he's retired. Now that it seems that he's finally done, now you do the full 2-hour out of character Undertaker documentary. I mean, we have had Undertaker DVDs before, but they were all nearly always in character. There was an out of character documentary years ago called This Is My Yard in 2001, but that was when WWE were fairly early into doing these sort of things, and they hadn't quite got the formula down yet. So just imagine Undertaker 2-hour plus documentary on his career. I would definitely buy that one. That'd be fucking amazing, to be honest with you. And next question. What are your favourite wrestling attires? Quite a few. I mean, probably a lot of Rey Mysterio ones that he used to use back in the day. Remember the Spider-Man type outfit he used to wear in WCW. The full bodysuit that he wore Halloween Havoc 1997. Even like the Avatar one that he used for WrestleMania 26 and stuff like that. Really, I mean, but wrestling ring attire is not that important to me. But I also like some of the creative tights that Rick Rude did, especially like on his opponents and stuff. A lot of Ultimate. I like the Ultimate Warrior's WrestleMania 7 attire in his match with Macho Man. I even like Savage's attire in that same match actually. Always liked RVD's orange tiger stripe, one that he used a few times in 2001, 2002. For some reason, I always liked tiger stripes in your attire in wrestling. There's two things I'm quite big on for attire, and I don't know why. One's tiger stripes, and two's army style gear, which I like army style tie, but I've never really understood why, but I do. But then thoughts on Jake Roberts slapping Miss Elizabeth at this Tuesday in Texas. Holy fuck, was that shocking for the time. I mean, I wasn't watching in 1991 yet, but wow. Yeah, back then, you didn't touch Miss Elizabeth at all. I think the only time she ever got physical that I can remember, when Randy Savage was thrown into her at the Saturday Night Main Event where the Mega Powers exploded. But wow, this is just what a heel Jake Snake was. I mean, the stuff he did to Savage was outrageous, and I think he had Savage beat up, and then he slapped Miss Elizabeth. Like, what the hell? I mean, this would be commonplace in the Attitude Era and stuff like that, but wow, if he did that, but did that in 1991, I couldn't believe that. And then now is a good question, top 10 wrestlers you want in the WWE Hall of Fame. So this is a tough one, but I do have a list. Obviously, the last few years, I feel like WWE has ticked some big boxes. With obviously Bruno went in, the Warrior went in, Macho Man went in, guys like that. And I'm only going to include guys that WWE could have inducted over the years, but haven't. So obviously, I'm not going to say people like the Undertaker, because let's be honest, he's going in probably next year. People like The Rock. The Rock will, when The Rock's officially 100% retired, The Rock will go in. People like Jericho and that, once they're retired, they'll go in. So I'm only going to pick the guys that they could have inducted but hadn't. So number 10, Magnum TA. Just feel like he could have gone in at any time, really. He's probably not in there because he's not well known in the WWE, but WWE has put guys that have never worked there before, such as like Vern Gagne went in, Abdullah the Butcher gone in, so there's no real reason why Magnum TA can't go in. I feel like he's definitely a Hall of Fame worthy guy. And then we got number 9, Christian. I mean, he's been retired for 3 years now. I mean, he didn't have a stellar career that Edge had, but for him, I think he had a really good career overall. I mean, for as brief as it was, he was a world champion. He was always at least a good mid-card performer as a singles guy. And obviously, his career alongside Edge in the tag divisions, probably good enough to get into the Hall of Fame. So yeah, I would say definitely, when the time is right, induct Christian. And next one's a bit sensitive, but China. I mean, We all know why she's not in. I mean, Triple H can say this bullshit about he doesn't want a kid looking her up and finding porn and stuff like that. But we know the real reason. We know it's because Triple H cheated on her with Stephanie, and there's bad blood there, and it'll be an awkward situation. And now she's dead. It's kind of... it's just in a bad position either way, I think. I think if they don't induct her, they look like arseholes for keeping denying her a spot. But if they do induct her, people will just turn around and say, oh, well, they're only inducted because he's dead. They wouldn't induct her while she was alive. But it's just sad that she never got the honour, because honestly, really, she was a big star in the Attitude Era. Real pioneer of women, to be honest with you. Then no one is a very, very unlikely one that got to go with the Steiner brothers as a team. I mean, and that's unlikely because, well, Scott Steiner is Scott Steiner, basically. As long as Scott Steiner keeps doing interviews, trashing the company and saying what's on his mind and all that, they're probably not going in. Scott Steiner is worthy on his own, but Rick Steiner's probably not. And I always liked the Steiner brothers better than either of the two individually anyway, so I'd really, really like to see the Steiner brothers go in the Hall of Fame someday. And then we've got top 6. Next one is Vader. That's another guy who's been conspicuous by his absence in the Hall of Fame. I mean, he inducted Stan Hansen a couple of years ago. I mean, it was 2016 he did that, and then obviously the revelation because of heart problems and that. He's only got a couple of years to live, so WWE, you really need to put this guy in while he's still alive to deserve it. I mean, it'd be really sad if Vader dies and doesn't go in the Hall of Fame. Then number 5, Sable. That's another one I just don't understand why she's not in there. I mean, you've got fucking Jacqueline in there, people like that. So why... I mean, if you weren't watching wrestling the Attitude Era, you might not understand how big of a name Sable was at the time. I mean, she was a huge star. And now I know she sued the company and all that, but that was like 1999. And they brought her back in 2003, so there can't be that much bad blood. And also, she is married to Brock Lesnar, so why not? She should be in. She's 100% being in. Then another one looks like it's probably not going to happen for a while, and that's Demolition. I mean, these guys should have been in at least 5 years ago for me. I mean, at least 5 years ago. But obviously, the biggest tag team of the 80s. Had the record tag team title run up until New Day broke it recently. Legendary tag team, but now of course they're on that daft concussion lawsuit towards the WWE, so as long as he's suing the company, they're not going to the Hall of Fame, which is quite understandable, to be fair. I mean, Vince isn't going to induct someone in his Hall of Fame who's actively suing him, is he now? Top 3 are all musts for me. Number 3, Cyndi Lauper in the Celebrity Ring. I mean, I don't understand why this hasn't happened yet. I mean, it's a bit strange, isn't it, really, how that one hasn't happened. I mean, you've got Drew Carey's in there, but Cyndi Lauper is not. I mean, really? I mean, Cyndi Lauper was a massive part of that rock and wrestling connection, and without her, possibly that wouldn't have been as successful as it was, and WWE might not be where it is today, so don't understand why she's not there. I mean, if you know me well enough, you probably know who the top 2 are. So, number 2, of course, British Bulldog Davey Boy Smith. It's really sad that he's not in there, and I just hope, I have hope that one day it'll happen. I mean, if WrestleMania ever came to the UK, he would have to be the star inductee, wouldn't he, really? I know probably the reason is they don't want to, because they only like to induct one dead person every year, which is understandable because it might seem a bit morbid if you have a Hall of Fame induction ceremony and a bunch of guys are dead then. Obviously like Davey Boy Smith, one of those ones that died prematurely from a drug overdose and a drug related death and stuff like that, so they probably don't want the attention on that. But Rick Rude was this year's dead inductee, so I would really, really love it if Davey Boy Smith was next year's. And obviously, number 1, and you never say never in wrestling. I mean, that's kind of like a golden rule, something you don't do. But In this case, I'm probably going to say there's a less than 1% chance this will ever happen. And the number one for me biggest omission of the Hall of Fame is Owen Hart. I mean, and the reason is because his widow Martha still mad at the company and all that because of how he died, which is understandable. I mean, she lost her husband in a stupid accident that should never have happened. So, and obviously she's never forgiven the WWE for that, and probably never will. So, WWE can't really induct them without her consent because they look like fucking dickheads, really. So, yeah, I mean, I would love. I'd be so happy if it ever happened, but I don't ever see it happening. I mean, we got a DVD set of Owen like a couple of years ago, which was amazing to have. But I would love to see him go in, but I just don't see it. And the last question: top 10 favourite hometown victories in wrestling. Well, I couldn't really come up with 10, so I'm going to have to be a dick here and go with 5. Now, for hometown, I'm going to take exactly that, hometown. So not home state. So, for example, Austin. If Austin won something in Houston, Texas, or Dallas, Texas, I'm not going to count that because that's a home state and not a hometown. If Shawn Michaels won something in any other Texas town other than San Antonio, that's not going to count. So, number 5, Kurt Angle winning the WWF Championship in Pittsburgh at Unforgiven 2001. Then number 4, Shawn Michaels winning the World Wrestling Federation title at the Royal Rumble 1997 in San Antonio, Texas. That was a really good moment. Number 3, Ric Flair beating Vader to win the WCW title in the main event of Starrcade in 1993. That was a pretty epic moment in Charlotte. And then number 2, gotta go, because this is for me anyway, Owen Hart beating Stone Cold in the main event of Canadian Stampede at Calgary in 1997. That was awesome. So then for me, number 1 is still, and it probably always will be, CM Punk beating John Cena for the WWE Championship and Money in the Bank 2011 in Chicago. Epic stuff, like really epic stuff. Then next set of questions come from Princess Strong Style 9v2. This is a good one actually. Top 5 favourite tournaments of all time. So I'm going for a variety here. So number 5 clocking in, and I don't know how many people remember this one, but the Gold Rush tournament for the number 1 contendership for the World Heavyweight title on Raw in 2005. This was held over 3 weeks on Raw, but it was a really cool tournament. This was obviously the one with the awesome Shawn Michaels Shelton Benjamin match, which loved that match. You had Kane and Christian in there, Edge and Jericho, and then main event of the first round was Chris Benoit Triple H, where Benoit got a victory over Triple H. I mean, look at that talent at the time. I mean, you had Kane, Christian, Shawn Michaels, Shelton Benjamin, Edge, Chris Jericho, Chris Benoit, Triple H, and then it ended with Edge and Kane in the final. And had a great heel turn, obviously heel turn by later, siding with Edge over Kane, which obviously that had to happen at the time because things were all crazy. And then number 4, gotta go with the 1993 King of the Ring tournament. And yes, if anyone's asking, it's because of Bret Hart. I mean, sure, that's what people are gonna wonder, and yes, that is correct. It's because of Bret Hart. I mean, that was the Bret Hart tournament where Bret Hart had 3 really good matches on that show and carried the show. I mean, obviously, first match you had Bret Hart versus Razor Ramon. Then in the second round you had Bret Hart and Mr. Perfect having another classic match. Then the story of Bam Bam Bigelow getting a bye into the final, and Bret going to the final as a major underdog against a near 400-pound Bam Bam Bigelow, but then Bret Hart overcomes it and becomes the 1993 King of the Ring. So yeah, that was awesome stuff. Number 3, probably go with the New Japan Super J Cup in 1994. I've seen this twice. I saw it for the first time in 2004, I believe, on the old wrestling channel. Then I saw it the second time in about 2007, maybe 2008. I mean, it's a great tournament. You had stuff like Chris Benoit and Eddie Guerrero, or Wild Pegasus versus Black Tiger. Ultimo Dragon Jushin Liger had an awesome semi-final in the Liger and Sasuke, not Liger and Dragon was 95. Then obviously the awesome final between Chris Benoit and Great Suzuki, where Benoit won the J Cup. Number 2, 1 and 2 are here for completely different reasons, but number 2, of course, Survivor Series 1998 Deadly Games tournament. Love that fucking tournament. Yeah, it's not for the wrestling, like, obviously, the actual in-ring work's pretty mediocre, to be fair. And there's a nice gem between The Rock and Shamrock, and obviously the final between Mankind and The Rock was pretty sweet, but that tournament was booked perfectly, to perfection. I've ragged on Vince Russo a lot in the past, and I'll probably rag on him again in the future, but that is definitely Vince Russo's finest hour as a booker. He booked that one just wow, honestly. So from the start, where it looked like Vince had 2 big obstacles, Stone Cold Steve Austin and The Rock, and he was manipulating Mankind to be his hand-chosen corporate champion, and that was reinforced by giving him a tomato can in the first round in the form of Dwayne Gill, where Mankind won easily, and then put Austin in the first round of the Big Boss Man, where Boss Man got himself disqualified, but beat up Austin with a nightstick, so softening Austin up. And then X-Pac and Steven Regal fucking it up by both getting counted out and causing Austin to get a bye in the semi-final. So, and then you look at the Rock side. First off, The Rock was booked in a match with Triple H, but Triple H was injured and couldn't make it. So, and then when you look back at this throughout the night, then you can see the pieces coming together. So Patterson and Briscoe brought out the Big Boss Man, so The Rock beat him in like 4 seconds or something daft like that. And obviously quarterfinals goes along nicely. Undertaker beats Kane, Rock beats Shamrock, Mankind beats Al Snow. And then Austin gets royally screwed in the semi-finals, where Shane McMahon, who was being a babyface was Vince, and then Shane McMahon as a referee screwed Stone Cold out of the semi-final. So it looked like Mankind was in pole position to win the tournament. The Rock gets obviously The Rock gets by Shamrock and Undertaker, but the way he got by Shamrock is they did a thing where it looked like the Boss Man was trying to throw the nightstick to Shamrock, but The Rock intercepted it and then hit Shamrock with a nightstick. So then you get the final, The Rock versus Mankind, and then the amazing heel turn of The Rock, where he got Mankind in the sharpshooter in a Montreal reenactment. Vince ran for the belt, screwed Mankind out of the title. Turned out that The Rock and Vince and Shane were in it all along. The Rock turned heel and became the corporate champion. Just honestly awesome stuff. Great memories. And then number 1, I've got to go with the WWE Cruiserweight Classic from last year. Yep. So the top one on the list is a recent one. It's been just about a year now since the Cruiserweight Classic started in July of last year. And I love this for a variety of reasons. One, with it being like Cruiserweight, it was just a pure wrestling show, which was just nice to see. Obviously this isn't the sort of thing that appeals to all the fans, but sort of people that have the network love this. Then obviously they changed what a Cruiserweight could be, because obviously when you think of Cruiserweight, the first thing you think of is high flying around the ring and all that, but we had an awesome variety of stars in here. You had your high flyers, such as Lindsay Dorado, Mustafa Ali, but then you had your British technical wrestlers and Zack Sabre Jr., Jack Gallagher, you had your big star from New Japan like Kota Ibushi, who was seen as a tournament favourite. You had the great story of Brian Kendrick looking for redemption, looking for that one last chance at glory. You had the story of Johnny Gargano and Tommaso Ciampa, DIY partners fighting in the first round. And then obviously you had the thing where TJ Perkins was quietly getting through the rounds. You had a Gran Metalik, who was a luchador who could actually wrestle, so you had a lot of different type of matches on the show. It was just really fucking awesome. I mean, you had the what should have been a star-making best performance of Kota Ibushi and Cedric Alexander, that cool moment where the fans were chanting, "Please sign Cedric," then Triple H came out and was like, okay. So, but I feel like if Al Cedric went straight to NXT after that, had a run on there, he could be really one of the top guys in NXT now, but that's the sad thing about it, how great his tournament was, but then the actual WWE Cruiserweight division kind of sucked since then, apart from Neville, who's been outstanding but wasn't in this tournament, obviously. Then you had the whole thing where it looked like it was going to be Kota Ibushi versus Zack Sabre Jr. in the final, but both were eliminated in the semis. Then you got a surprise. Can I imagine at the time when this whole thing started, nobody was thinking TJ Perkins versus Gran Metalik as the final, were they? And then TJ Perkins wins the tournament. So yeah, honestly, just it's all on the network now. So if you haven't seen it, I implore you to just go back and watch all of it. It's really one of the best stuff that WWE has done. And then in the last couple of years. Then next questions. Got would you say that Okada or Omega have garnered New Japan the appeal you've wanted from the US viewers, minus the whole Meltzer star rating bullshit thing? Yeah, I do. I mean, I really do. I feel like those two matches in Wrestle Kingdom and Dominion has really started getting New Japan some more attention. I mean, those matches speak for themselves, really. I mean, for me, especially the second one at Dominion was fucking unbelievable. I thought anyway. I love that match. I love both of them, but let's just ignore Meltzer's 6-star, 6.25-star horse shit. But yeah, I really do. I do think it really does. Yes. And then next question. Over the course of your recent interest in New Japan Pro Wrestling, who has most impressed you? So if people didn't know, over the last couple of months, well, pretty much since Dominion, really, I've really started to watch New Japan more and more. I mean, for a combination of liking that Okada or Mega match so much that I wanted to see more, and more the fact that WWE's been so bad it's been pushing me away, so I've been getting away from the WWE. So I've watched quite a bit of New Japan over the last few months. I mean, I watched a lot of the US shows. I've been watching parts of the G1, not all of it, but parts of the G1 Climax, and then various classic matches from the last couple of years. So, I mean, obvious answer, obviously Okada, which I don't need to get into detail. I mean, I know how good he is, you all know how good he is, so we don't need to go into that one, and obviously Kenny Omega as well. I mean, obvious reasons, but a guy who I've really like watching is Tomohiro Ishii. Yeah, I really do enjoy the fuck out of his work. I mean, he reminds me a lot of Taz from ECW. Just that short, badass motherfucker. It's never pretty, but damn, it's effective. I mean, he's just very believable in the ring as Ishii, to be honest. I mean, really do enjoy his work. Obviously, Tetsuya Naito, I mean, amazing worker, keeps delivering. I mean, he's probably underrated because he's overshadowed a bit by Okada and Tanahashi. But I think in most companies, Naito would probably be the best worker in the company. And at the moment, he's my pick to win the G1 Climax and headline Wrestle Kingdom next year. But I suppose we'll see about that, won't we? And then another one, Minoru Suzuki. I mean, he's a great performer in my opinion. Really like him. Saw a bit of that Shibata, but obviously he's probably out the picture now, which is a shame. Some of Yuji Nagata, I mean, he's probably going to retire soon, but some of Yuji Nagata's performances in the G1 have been pretty fucking awesome. Then I just want to mention, because I feel like he deserves to mention, that's Juice Robinson. I mean, it shows how good New Japan are when they can. I mean, this guy was a loser in NXT, wasn't he? I mean, he wasn't even a loser on the main roster. He was a main loser on NXT. He wasn't getting pushed on NXT. And now here he goes to New Japan, gets a really good mid-card push, gets a chance to show what he can do. And it's been really cool to see, hasn't it, really? And then, question number 4. With AJ Styles recently win the US title at an MSG house show, think the house show title changes are appropriate on occasion. On occasion, yes, but I'll say let's not make a habit of it and make it a regular thing. I'll say if you do it once every 2 or 3 years at the least, that'd be cool. And at big shows like MSG and stuff like that, not just in some random little crappy town in some silly little hick town, but do it at the big ones. I mean, so obviously, so just don't do it all the time, basically. And last question, hidden gems and classics from 2017 so far. So not many, really. I mean, to be honest, I'll go some WWE ones. Yeah, probably the Fatal 5 on 205 Live in, I think, February, the Jack Gallagher one. I can't remember everyone who was in it, but I remember liking that match. On that same subject, Neville versus Jack Gallagher from Fastlane. Probably my pick for most underrated match of the year so far. Pete Dunne and Mark Andrews from NXT in late February. Not the one at the UK Classic Tournament, not that one. But a match he had on just a normal NXT. Late February, I mean. Really good match. Definitely worth checking out if you haven't seen it. Probably, with it being in the kickoff show, probably Neville, Austin Aries from the WrestleMania 33 kickoff. Like I say, because it was on the pre-show, it probably doesn't get as much love as it should. Randy Orton versus Luke Harper from Elimination Chamber. That was a really good match. It's probably got forgotten about quite a bit now. This post SmackDown, whenever it was, it was just after the shake-up triple threat match. AJ Styles versus Sami Zayn versus Baron Corbin. Thought that was an excellent TV match. Really enjoyed that one. It was an underrated sprint, but a really good 5-minute match on NXT from like just after WrestleMania between Drew McIntyre and Oney Lorcan. Okay, that one's definitely worth checking out if you haven't seen it. And then as far as New Japan goes, probably Ishii versus Zack Sabre from the US show. I mean, there was other great matches on that show, but that one was a great match. I guess overshadowed quite a bit. Let's think of some G1 stuff that I've seen recently. Was Juice Robinson versus Kojima from day 2. That was a really good one, with Juice Robinson getting the victory. Hiroki Goto versus Yuji Nagata from whichever day had Zack Sabre and Kota Ibushi. Honestly, thought like that match was better than Sabre versus Ibushi, so I'll go with them ones. And next set of questions come from Mr. Beetle 890. What are some WWE moments that are so bad they're good? Quite a few, but the one that stands out to me is Choppy the PP one. I'm sorry guys, I make no apologies. I thought that was funny. I thought that was really funny stuff. I mean, where Kai and Tai tried to chop off Val Venus' big dick. It was, Val Venus, this is what I do to you. I choppy your pee-pee. Yeah. Honestly, like, it gets a lot of hate, but it was one of those ones that are just so stupid it was actually good. Then the majority of Scott Steiner's promos, just throw that one out there. I mean, I think that's what Scott Steiner, I mean, his promos were so awful, really, but at the same time they were so fucking entertaining. It was like, you left with, I have no idea what the fuck this maniac's going on about it, but that was kind of awesome. I mean, he's had it all, really. I mean, stumbling over his words, saying the wrong words, saying stuff that made absolutely no sense, random outbursts of roid rage. He had it all. And probably my favourite one was when he was wrestling Kevin Nash's Super Brawl, and Kevin Nash was feigning the leg injury, and then he goes, Kevin Nash, you're coming out here trying to get the sympathy of the people. You don't get my sympathy at all. Just, yeah, awesome stuff. And then majority of the Boogeyman stuff, I mean, maybe I'm just fucking weird, but I probably am just a big freak. But honestly, some of the Boogeyman stuff was actually just fantastic. I mean, I have a theory that sometimes if you're going to do batshit insane stuff, you might as well go all the way and just go all out, completely bonkers. And that's what they did here for the Boogeyman. And it was just so out there. I mean, it's just so outrageous, and it was funny. And one more, do you remember when they did the thing where Kai and Tai dubbed these Japanese voices, and they were like, "We are Kai and Tai, and we are evil." Oh God, I shouldn't have done that. That's twice now I've done horribly stereotypical Japanese voices. Oh God. As soon as this video is out, I'm probably going to get banned for being racist. So, it's been a great ride, guys. Let's just hope I don't get banned from YouTube for that. But yeah, that was awesome. And then what have we got? What are some great moments in WWE that happened in awful years? So, I think an example would be, do you remember Diesel's promo the night after Survivor Series 1995? Because yes, 1995 was absolute wank, wasn't it, really? So yeah, Diesel, big promo after Survivor Series 1995. And on the same night when Shawn Michaels collapsed in the middle of the ring in his match with Owen Hart, which really helped set up Shawn Michaels' run up to WrestleMania 12 for the WWF Championship. That was great stuff, I would say. 1993 it was also an awful year, but a great month for me that year was the end. I should have mentioned this on my King of the Ring 1993 thing I was talking about a few minutes ago, where when Bret Hart won the tournament, and then Jerry Lawler, in a tremendous heel move, jumped Bret Hart and beat him up, and that was great. And so then what we got, 2010, I think the initial Nexus invasion of Raw, where they ripped up the ring and just caused loads of chaos. That was just a fantastic moment. I really loved that moment. And obviously Bret Hart returned to WWE that year. That was pretty sweet. Trying to think what's happened in 2017, because that's been a fucking awful year, which has been awesome. Can't really think of anything major, to be honest. Idiot. Obviously the Undertaker's probable retirement this year at WrestleMania 33. I mean, that'll probably be the moment of 2017, won't it? You'd think, when it's all said and done. 2000. I'm trying to think of some years that I hated but had good moments. No, that's about all I can think of, really. What are some of your favourite WWE pay-per-view themes? I mean, I always liked the classic Big Four themes, like the old SummerSlam theme, the old WrestleMania theme, particularly the classic Royal Rumble theme, and then the Survivor Series one as well. But as far as proper themes, I would say WrestleMania 17, Limp Bizkit's My Way, fantastic song. SummerSlam 2001, Drowning Pool Bodies, that was a great song. Survivor Series 2001, Puddle of Mud, Control, great song. Survivor Series 2002, Alive as Always. SummerSlam 2002's Fight Song, that was great. Evanescence Bring Me to Life for No Way Out 2003, I believe it was. Even like Metallica Saint Anger for SummerSlam 2003. And then, oh fuck, the SummerSlam, I can't remember, SummerSlam 2005 theme, but fuck, completely forgot the band. Siva was a band. Yeah, Siva Remedy, that's the one. That's the one, lad. Yeah, so stuff like that, really. Not really been a big fan of many of the current ones, like modern ones, or that 6-7 years, stuff like that. But yeah, those ones I mentioned were really the standouts for me. What else have I think? The Red Hot Chili Peppers one for WrestleMania 24, that was really good. I think those are the main ones I can think of off the top of my head. Thoughts on the Rhodes Scholars, that's Cody Rhodes and Damien Sandow's team in 2012-2013. Thought it was a good team looking back, a good mid-card tag team. I mean, Cody Rhodes wasn't really doing much at the time. Sandow was pretty much not doing much, so they got put together and actually made it work. I mean, Cody was a better worker of the two, but I feel like Sandow definitely had the personality and the mic skills of the two. So it worked. I mean, They never had a tag title run, but they had a few run-ins with Team Hell No and stuff like that. So they were famously kicked off the WrestleMania 29 card at the last minute, which was sad for them. Then, last question for you, most underrated Brock Lesnar match. So I thought about this and I remember the match. So, do you remember when Brock Lesnar had that WWE title match with Chris Benoit on SmackDown, 2003? The following week he had another great match with Rey Mysterio, December the 11th, 2003, possibly. Yeah, that was a fantastic match, to be honest with you. I loved that match. Was it a WWE? I can't remember the WWE title match or not, but it was just a really great. It was a 4-star match for me. Really enjoyed it. Definitely gets forgotten about. Then next set of questions: King of Wrestling '98. What is your favourite WCW Nitro episode of all time? Probably the last one. For its historic value and stuff, like how surreal it was for the end where Vince and Shane were doing the Raw Nitro simulcast. But you had stuff like Booker T and Scott Steiner for both the titles in the opener. Obviously the great Ric Flair promo he cut at the start of the show. And then the last WCW match fittingly being Ric Flair versus Sting. So probably the last one, actually. Then we got, I think Randy Orton should have had a long reign as world champion in 2004. Randy Orton shouldn't have even been the world champion in 2004, to be honest. I mean, it was just, I just did not like that at all. I mean, like Orton and all that, but clearly rushed to the top, and clearly only did it so Orton could be a world champion at 24, so they could stick it to Brock Lesnar and have Randy Orton break Brock Lesnar's record. And then the whole thing, so they should, obviously I could go on all day about how they fucked up Orton's babyface turn and fucked up that initial Orton Triple H feud, but that would take a long time to talk about. But I'll just say that he should have definitely not have even had Orton win the title. He also thought they should have just had Triple H win the title back at SummerSlam 2004 and then build Orton towards Triple H for WrestleMania 21. But obviously that didn't happen, did it? Thoughts on 1996 as a year? I think 1996 is a great year in wrestling, in my opinion. Overall, I mean, so many things happened in 1996 looking back. I mean, stuff like Kevin Nash and Scott Hall jumping to WCW in their respective debuts, the epic Hogan heel turn, the formation of the NWO, Bash at the Beach. WCW was amazing that year. That was probably, for me anyway, the best ever year of WCW, 1996. Just innovative stuff for the time. Obviously that was a time where all the great workers came in, such as Malenko, Guerrero, Benoit, Jericho, Mysterio. The Cruiserweight division was heating up. NWO was just the hottest thing going. The whole thing where Sting cut that promo after Fall Brawl about how WCW betrayed him and he was going to be a free agent, no alliances. And then obviously the slow transition from Surfer Sting to Crow Sting. Epic stuff. In the WWF, you had stuff like Austin 316 was born that year. Bret Hart returned to the company and stuff like that. Shawn Michaels' title run. I think that was an underrated year for WWF in 1996 because they were getting their asses kicked by WCW, but they were quietly rebuilding with new stars such as Austin, like Goldust, Mankind, because he'd lost Nash and Hall, hadn't he? And then obviously Bret Hart took his time off. So Shawn was a champion for the majority of the year. Obviously Austin coming up. Goldust's character was awesome. Mankind, The Undertaker had that awesome feud, didn't he? 1996. So I mean, there's a lot like about 1996 in the WWF, in my opinion. You also had some great veterans in there, such as Owen Hart and the British Bulldog. Vader wasn't used correctly, but he was there. Then young guys such as Hunter Hearst Helmsley, and Ahmed Johnson, people like that. So then ECW had a great little product at the time as well. I mean, stuff like Shane Douglas, Sabu, Taz, Sandman, Tommy Dreamer, Raven, obviously Brian Pillman's epic debut. So yeah, a lot alike about WCW, ECW, and WWF in 1995. Then we got which star from New Japan Pro Wrestling would you like to see sign for WWE? If I had to pick one and only one, definitely be Kenny Omega. And now, before I get people going, but what about Okada? I'll explain if you let me. I mean, thing about Omega can work and talk. So he's a good worker, he's a good talker. He's got a decent character, a good look. So with Okada, I mean, Okada, needless to say, is an amazing wrestler. Probably the best wrestler in the business. But obviously being Japanese, he probably can't really cut promos and do the entertainment aspect of the WWE that it requires. And I know you're going to say Shinsuke Nakamura, but I feel like Okada doesn't have that natural charisma that Nakamura has. So I feel like with Kenny Omega, you can get more out of him with in-ring work and the entertainment side of the WWE. Sorry. Right. Next up, Stephen Taylor. Best wrestler alive, well, that's got to be Okada, hasn't it? I mean, what a year he's having. He's having like the year of years. He's having like one of the best years ever. I mean, he's had both those classes with Kenny Omega, the war with Shibata and Sakura Genesis or something like that. The great match with Suzuki at New Beginning, I think it was. Great match with Michael Elgin recently in the G1 Climax. So for me, he's got to be the best worker in the world right now. Then a sexiest female wrestler alive. Now, he said wrestler, so we're going to disqualify Renee Young because she's not a wrestler. So as far as the actual winning wrestlers, got to be Alexa Bliss, hasn't it? I mean, what a beautiful woman she is. I mean, just her eyes and all that. And she'd definitely be the sort of woman who could manipulate me into doing anything. And to quote a great man called Jay Cartwright from the In-Betweeners, oh, she'd definitely get it right in the bumhole. Sorry about that. Only British people will understand that reference. We got, how much would Bruno Sammartino versus Andre the Giant Drew in the 70s? Oh, that'd be a huge drawn match in my opinion. They could have went to a stadium and sold out 40,000 seats for that, I believe. I mean, so you got like the biggest star at the time, Bruno Sammartino, your world champion. Big special attraction, Andre the Giant. Wow, that'd be really interesting. The match probably wouldn't be that good, to be honest with you. But yeah, bottom line is it would have drawn a shit ton of money. Probably would have been the biggest drawn matches, possibly the biggest drawn match of the entire decade, to be fair. And then we got thoughts on Muhammad Ali's appearance in the WWE against Gorilla Monsoon. So this was like 70 something. I can't remember exactly what year it was. So Muhammad Ali was in there and he was going back and forth with Gorilla Monsoon. And Gorilla Monsoon picked him up and gave him an aeroplane spin. So it was kind of cool that Ali would let Monsoon do that to him. Yeah, so he made a few appearances at the WWF and other territories at the time. That was probably his most memorable one. But yeah, that was pretty cool. And then, should Bruce Lee have made an appearance in wrestling? Yeah, if they could get him and he wanted to do it. I mean, Bruce Lee was such a badass, possibly the baddest man in the world at the time when he was alive. So that would have been pretty sweet if any wrestling company could have ever got him in. Yeah, that would have been cool as shit, actually, to be fair. And we've got next questions, Diesel 101 Raw. We got we still got a few people to go through, but let's get through it, guys. Let's say Ric Flair left WCW right after Starrcade in 1990. Debuted in the WWF and faced Ultimate Warrior at Royal Rumble and won the WWF title. The WWF title, the Slaughter won. Then WrestleMania 7 had Demolition versus LOD in brackets, Axe not having health problems. Keep the Ultimate Warrior versus Randy Savage and Hulk Hogan versus Ric Flair for the WWF title. How big would that have been? Honestly, be thinking about it. Put one of, if not the biggest WrestleManias ever. You have to think, really. I mean, if you think of wrestling at that time, or specifically the late 80s peak, I mean, Hulk Hogan, Ric Flair, Randy Savage, Ultimate Warrior. that's a who's who of what wrestling was at the time, really, wasn't it? I mean, so if you have all of those guys on the same WrestleMania in a double main event, does it get much for that era of wrestling? Does that get much bigger? Not at all. I mean, one thing, obviously undercard as well, Legion of Doom versus Demolition, the real Demolition, Axe and Smash. If that could have happened, then you got arguably the two biggest tag teams of that era as well. So one thing I can say with confidence that they would have certainly sold out the Los Angeles Memorial Coliseum, that where WrestleMania 7 was originally supposed to be. That was supposed to be the first 100,000 seat WWE crowd, which obviously possibly happened at WrestleMania 32, but we're not sure what the real number was. But obviously I do feel like they would have definitely sold that out. I mean, come on, Hogan, Flair, Warrior, Savage would have been epic. Probably could have rivaled or even surpassed WrestleMania 3 as the biggest WrestleMania of all time. Probably could have been bigger than WrestleMania 17 in 2001. I mean, just think about that. That would have been unbelievable, wouldn't it, really? Then we've got Force of Muhammad Ali versus Antonio Inoki. Never seen the match or fight. I don't really want to because it just sounds awful. By all accounts, basically what goes to real fight. So Inoki just lies on his back and throws kicks at Ali's legs for 15 rounds, and I have no desire to see that. And how much more awesome would it have been if would Rock in 2001 had he not went to Hollywood in 2001? Could he have been Wrestler of the Year, and could this have been his best year? Now, yeah, I feel like we never truly got to see the best of The Rock. I mean, when The Rock was starting to gain experience and becoming a great in-ring performer, that's when he left for Hollywood. I mean, 2001, he had some amazing matches that year with Kurt Angle, Stone Cold, Chris Jericho. And if he hadn't had that 4 month period, he was gone from WrestleMania 17 till the summer. Who knows? For one, I do think, yeah, could have been The Rock's best year, but could The Rock have been Wrestler of the Year? I would say no, because Stone Cold had an amazing year in his own right. I mean, he had 2 5-star matches, one with Triple H, one with The Rock. Him and Triple H against Benoit and Jericho. Him and Benoit and Edmonton on SmackDown. Him and Kurt Angle at SummerSlam. So that would have been awesome though if Austin and Rock, who would compete, to have the best year. So, but I think it would have been hard for The Rock to have a better year than Austin had in 2001. And then we go thoughts on Goldberg, Sting and Booker T not being in Starrcade 2000. Well, just to correct you, Goldberg was in Starrcade 2000. Goldberg wrestled Lex Luger on that show, if you remember. Goldberg wrestled Lex Luger on that show, and then Booker T was injured. He got injured, left after Mayhem and didn't come back till early 2001. And Sting must have been injured because there's no obvious reason why he wouldn't be on that show if he wasn't. So it's a shame for WCW to not have Sting and Booker T on that show, basically. Yeah, that's pretty much it. There's not much detail to go into about that. If Vader came to WWE after Starrcade 2000, got the Yokozuna push, could that help WWE? And could he have been even somewhat of a draw for that period? Well, I feel like if Vader got the Yokozuna push, he would have done a lot better job than Yokozuna, because not ragging on Yokozuna, but I think Vader was just a superior worker in every way to Yoko. That's not shitting on Yoko, because I thought Yokozuna did a pretty decent job for his size and all that. But Vader had more experience, Vader was a better worker, Vader was a more vicious badass. That could have been interesting though, couldn't it? WrestleMania 9, Vader versus Bret Hart. That could have been an excellent match, couldn't it, really? And then obviously Vader and Hogan before 1995 could have been interesting. So I think Yoko, I don't know, because the company was struggling at the time, so no one was really drawn. I mean, even when Hogan came back, he wasn't really drawn in 1993, so if Hogan couldn't draw in 1993, I don't doubt Vader could as well, but that's that. And then we got Silver and Style. If at this moment you started booking for TNA and Global Force Wrestling, what would you do? who would you sign, etc. Now, there's a few questions about TNA, but right, I'm just going to try and, right, we're going to call it Global Force Wrestling. It's my mission to call it Global Force Wrestling and get all these wrestling fans used to no longer saying TNA and saying Global Force Wrestling instead. So, how I would book it, I don't really know, because I don't really watch the product, so don't really know what's going on and stuff, but I would just book a simple wrestling product with clear faces and heels, no complicated storylines and stuff like that, make wins and losses matter and stuff like that. So obviously, there's the whole thing about Alberto El Patron. I would probably, because of all the recent shit that's been going down with him, I'd probably get the title off him pronto, because I know it seems that he's been cleared of this charge of battery against Page, but who knows if something dodgy is going to crop up again, might crop up again very soon. I mean, so I'll probably keep the belt on Lashley for now and have him go for it, people like that. So who would I sign now? I'll just give a few, because obviously there's a lot of people out there I could sign. So I'll give about 5 to 10 guys. Obviously, we're not going to have New Japan full-timers or WWE guys, because that's unrealistic. So, obviously, Austin Aries, I think he's an obvious one to sign since he's left the WWE, which there's a question about that coming up, so we'll talk about that in a sec. But obviously, Austin, I think he's an obvious choice to go back to Global Force, TNA, whatever the fuck you want to call it. And he could go right to the top, really, couldn't he, to be honest now. You look at this, like Lucha Underground, when Series 3 ends, there's no plans for a Series 4 presence, so once that ends, I think you start cherry picking that roster a little bit. I mean, there's talks about Rey Mysterio, which, yeah, I could see that happening, but I think it's just a question of if Rey Mysterio's knees can hold up, because these days it seems Mysterio's knees are pretty much held together by blue tack these days. Now, obviously, Johnny Mundo / John Morrison / Johnny Nitro, I think he'd be ideal. I mean, he's in his later 30s now, he's had a lot of experience, still a phenomenal athlete, so I think he'd be perfect for the Global Force roster. Brian Cage, I mean, you just look at the fucker. I mean, just look at him. I mean, it's actually quite amazing that he's not in the WWE right now. I mean, obviously, the guy just screams WWE superstar. I mean, he looks like a star. He can move. He's a good worker. So why the hell is he not there? Davey Boy Smith Jr., Harry Smith. He should be signed to one of the big companies. I mean, he works for New Japan, but I think he works for a lot of other promotions. So don't think he's a New Japan full time or anything like that. I mean, holy fuck, the guy's about 6'5", 260, can work his arse off. So why the hell is he not in either WWE or Global Force? I mean, that's an obvious one. Then guys that work for New Japan but also work over US Indies, I think Michael Elgin's a big, what the fuck's he not got a big contract for? I mean, look at them. I mean, the guy's just a tough, powerful guy. I really feel like if Michael Elgin was like 6'3", 6'4", he'd be a major star in the WWE now, because he has all the WWE qualities, but he's quite short, so that's probably what puts WWE off. And then obviously I think big one, if you want to go at the top of the card, you bring back Jay Lethal from Ring of Honor. I mean, I still find it mental that TNA let him go in the first place. Thought that was really bizarre and balmy that they done that. Obviously since that time he's just gone from strength to strength, become the top guy in Ring of Honor. So, and he's still only 31, 32, so why the hell is he not there? And then the big one for me, I mean, now this is very, very, very unlikely to happen, but as the old saying goes, if you don't buy a ticket, you don't win the raffle. If I was Global Force, I would go, right, Kenny Omega, how much do you want? We're going to pay you whatever you want. We're going to make you the top guy. We're going to build our company around you. You're going to be the champion. You're going to be the face of the company. And I mean, though, it's likely that Omega wouldn't go to Global Force, but I would at least make the attempt anyway. So, And if you could have redone last year's draft, what would you have done differently with the rosters? I mean, first off, I think the big one, I wouldn't have... Obviously, Raw got 3 drafts to SmackDown's 2, which was fucking bullshit. I mean, because they left SmackDown with a tiny roster compared to Raw's. So a few ones, I think the obvious one for me was obviously Gallows and Anderson going to Raw was stupid when them and AJ were the club at the time. So I would probably reverse that decision, put Gallows and Anderson on SmackDown of AJ Styles to keep the club going. That was dumb as fuck. Now I think obviously you break up Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn because they just had that match at Battleground where it was the last... Actually no, the draft was before Battleground, wasn't it? But they were doing the thing where Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn were fighting for the last time, but then they both ended up on Raw, ended up having random matches on Raw anyway. So that was I would have definitely put one of the two on SmackDown anyway. Probably Zayn if I had to choose, because obviously Owens got the Universal title on Raw. Kalisto should have been on Raw the whole time, to be honest. Especially when the Cruiserweight division was starting up. So having a luchador on SmackDown was a bit stupid, to be honest with you. So never really understood why Kalisto... I mean, Kalisto could have been in that early Cruiserweight division, really, but apparently WWE knew better, didn't they? But yeah, but they're the only ones that really come to mind. I think like the top guys were pretty much on the right brands overall. Can't really argue with like the top picks such as Cena on SmackDown, Reigns on Raw, AJ on SmackDown, Rollins on Raw, Ambrose on SmackDown and stuff like that. So yeah, those are the only ones I mentioned were the only real ones I had a big problem with. What we got? What can New Japan Pro Wrestling do to improve themselves? Honestly, not that much. I feel like New Japan has a great product overall, and they get most of the things right, like pushing the right stars, having the right kind of matches and stuff. So as far as big changes, there's not really much they can do. If I was them at this stage, I would just stay the course and continue what I'm doing, because I feel like, yeah, obviously they don't have a perfect product, but I feel like they have a satisfying product that the fans enjoy and they're doing well. So basically it's keep doing what they're doing. I mean, there's some flaws, like I feel like there's just too many championships in that promotion. I mean, for singles titles you've got the IWGP title, the Intercontinental title, the Never Openweight Championship, and now the United States Championship. That's 4 regular singles titles, and then obviously add to that the Junior Heavyweight title. I mean, there's the tag title, Junior Heavyweight Tag Team title. Isn't there a 6-man as well? I think there's a 6-man as well. So that's way too many titles, I feel like. So I think you should definitely get rid of one of the main men's titles. I understand why they did the US title, because they want to expand in the US and all that, but it's hard to like have all these titles mean more. You've got so many. And one thing I don't like about this product, which just like they seem to just throw these random 6 and 8 man tag matches together on the undercard for no particular reason, just to get guys on the show, which I'm not really a big fan of them doing that. I think you should cut that out. So there's a lot of unnecessary filler on the shows, I feel like, before the big matches kick in. And one thing that they should not do with this US expansion, New Japan, under no circumstances should you try to compete with the WWE. You're not going to do it. I mean, it's really apples and oranges. I mean, yeah, I mean, obviously die-hard wrestling fans prefer New Japan, but WWE's been around 50 years. They've got the market share. I mean, when you talk about non-wrestling fans about wrestling, they automatically think WWE. So I just feel like if New Japan went out there and tried to come at WWE in the US market, they would get destroyed. So I think they should just concentrate on trying to have a good alternative product and then just make themselves a nice little profit. I think that would be the best way to go. And then what have we got? thoughts on Austin Aries leaving WWE, how would you book him outside the Cruiserweight division? So yes, this is an out-of-date one. Obviously, I asked this about 3 weeks ago, and I've just been, haven't done the Q&A up until now. So, yeah, I feel like I understand where Austin Aries is coming from now that I've time to think about it. I actually do kind of admire him for not settling for less than what he thought he was. I do think he was a bit impatient though. I mean, he'd only been on the main roster for 3 months, so who's to say WWE wouldn't have soon pushed him out of the Cruiserweight division anyway, just a thought. But how I would book him, I feel like a good first feud outside division would be for The Miz for the Intercontinental title. Obviously, Aries cuts great promos. Miz is one of the best promo guys out there, and Miz has shown he can have good matches with these indie guys. So I feel like that would be a good first rivalry for him, chasing The Miz for the Intercontinental title. Then obviously I would like, maybe if Bobby Roode comes up, which I imagine he probably will, possibly after Brooklyn, maybe. If Bobby Roode came up, him and Austin Aries could have had Aries' first, Roode's first main feud in the main roster. That'd be pretty sweet. And then we got, who do you personally want to see WWE sign? So, I answered this one before, but again, I'll say if I was WWE and I had the chance to sign one wrestler in the world right now, it would definitely be Kenny Omega for the reasons I gave before. Just feel like he'd be the best fit. Now we got Solomon Sesmas. Now this is possibly my favourite question of the entire Q&A, but if you were to book a big WWE New Japan crossover show with the rosters they currently have, what would be the top 7 matches on the card? So this is a hard one because obviously you've only given me 7 matches, so certain guys are going to be off this. So some big names are going to be off this show with that in mind. So this is what I come up with. So we kick off with a match between New Japan's Kota Ibushi versus WWE's Finn Balor. Now originally, when I was thinking about this, I had a Kota Ibushi versus Sami Zayn down, but realising we got a WWE New Japan show, how the hell can I leave Finn Balor out there, given Finn Balor's history in Japan? So I think this would be a perfect opening match between two great high-flying, fast-paced, all-round performers. I mean, I think he did wrestle quite a bit back in the day when Balor was Prince Devitt. So I think that would be a perfect match to open up the show. Then we got number 2, tag team match, The Revival versus the Young Bucks. This would be an interesting as hell match for me. Obviously 2 totally different teams. I mean, Revival, more old school, grounded type of wrestlers. Young Bucks, I'm not even going to go into them, how I don't really like them. I think they're overrated as fuck. But Young Bucks are high flying around the ring, throwing super kicks, super fast pace. It would be a lot like Arn and Tully versus Rock and Roll Express, I think. That'd be an awesome tag match, and it'd be great to see the Revival fucking teach those little punks how to work. That'd be fucking great. And then top 5 matches, I mean, they've only got Samoa Joe versus Tomohiro Ishii. Wow, that would be just a bad as fuck match. That, I mean, just get these 2 badass motherfuckers and just let them beat the shit out of each other for our amusement and entertainment. I mean, that'd be just a fucking stiff and physical matchup. Then top big one's got 4 huge matches on the card. One, Tetsuya Naito versus Shinsuke Nakamura. So wow, I think these probably did wrestle in New Japan in the past. Sure, someone will point out if they did. But yeah, I think this would be an awesome match now. I mean, Nakamura is known for being the Intercontinental Champion. Naito just finished having a great reign as Intercontinental Champion and as a big heel. So just feel now that match would be pretty fucking awesome, wouldn't it? And then number 3, this match writes itself. AJ Styles versus Kenny Omega. I mean, this makes sense on so many levels, doesn't it, really? So you've got the former Bullet Club leader versus the current Bullet Club leader. Obviously AJ Styles, when he left, they kicked him out, and then Kenny Omega took over AJ's old role. So now AJ's a babyface, Omega's a heel. that would tear the fucking house down. Now, top two matches, and don't hate me for this, but Okada versus Roman Reigns. Now, I might get there. But what about Seth Rollins? What about this guy? Why Roman Reigns? But it's really simple. Okada's now the ace of New Japan, and Roman Reigns is the guy that WWE's pushed as the top face of their company. So it would make a lot of sense for them to clash, wouldn't it? And before you go yapping on, Roman Reigns is a good in-ring performer. He's had a lot of tremendous matches in the past. Him and Okada would work well. They would have a physical style match. They're both about the same size, so it'll be really interesting. So, and then obviously the main event, big main event, John Cena versus Hiroshi Tanahashi. I mean, those are for a few years ago, those were the top guys. I mean, Cena was the top guy for WWE for years. Tanahashi was the ace in New Japan for a long time. So I think they're both seen as legends. So that'll be the premise for the main event. WWE's icon John Cena versus Tanahashi, the old New Japan ace, and I think they would have a hell of a match in the main event. Both are still good performers, so I think that'll be pretty damn cool. So that is my card. Then we got which iconic WWE stars could have thrived with the indie scene, as we've known since the early to mid 2000s. So quite a few, to be fair. I mean, obviously you think Bret Hart, Shawn Michaels would fucking have some amazing matches with various guys over the last few years. Kurt Angle would be fucking amazing, especially if he went like Ring of Honor back in 2005 or something, and went against the likes of Bryan Danielson, Samoa Joe, and Nigel McGuinness and people like that. I mean, and even now, like Kurt Angle in his prime in the indie scene now would be pretty damn sweet. So those are really the three standouts. Ric Flair, obviously, feel like he would have done some awesome stuff back then. Eddie Guerrero would have been a major star in the indie scene of the last 10 years if he was around in his prime. Hate to bring him up, but Chris Benoit. I mean, some of the matches Benoit could have had with some of these guys are just crazy to think about. Jericho, again, another one. You got to think Chris Jericho would really be successful. So those guys, and then we're getting down. We got 3 sets of questions to go. So fuck me, another 2-hour plus video. So if you've been with me the whole time, congratulations, guys. Then we got Michael Shepardson. What year's worse, 2015 or 2017? That's the sort of question that's worth answering at the end of the year, so I can give a definitive answer. But the way it's going, I want to say 2017, but who knows? They might have probably won't, but they might have an awesome second half of the year. But yeah, I just feel like, obviously 2015, although WWE was bad, they had a lot of amazing matches that year, which I don't think they're having in 2000. They had some great matches this year, but I'll say match quality in 2015 blows away 2017 overall. So I'll say at this present time, 2015 it was a better year than 2017, but the answer could change at the end of the year. Biggest fuck-ups in wrestling history, oh god. The Invasion for one, which I don't really want to go too deep into that again. I mean, wow. Finger Poke of Doom, that's got to be another one. Sting Hogan Starrcade in 1997, that's a big one. Austin's heel run in 2001. There's quite a lot, really. I mean, Randy Orton's face turn and feud of Triple H in 2004. They fucked that up. The end of the Triple H Stephanie storyline, Kurt Angle storyline in 2000. Rikishi being the one to run over Stone Cold Steve Austin. So there's quite a few, really, isn't there, to be honest? I mean, I could go on a long time talking about shit like that, but so I'll just try and keep it brief. Top 10 favourite wrestlers of all time now. This one day could be a whole new video by itself. And maybe I'll do that one day. Do a detailed video explaining why certain guys are my favourite wrestlers and things like that. But I'll just briefly do the list now, and maybe one day we'll talk about it in long detail though. Number 10, Ricky the Dragon Steamboat. Number 9, I've got Owen Hart. Number 8, Edge. Number 7, Stone Cold Steve Austin. Number 6, Mick Foley. Then we've got top 5 are number 5, the British Bulldog. Number 4, Macho Man Randy Savage. Number 3, Shawn Michaels. Number 2, The Rock. And then number 1, Bret the Hitman Hart, which I'm sure most people know about. Then we got a top 10 favourite matches. Again, I could do a long video talking about this, and I may do that one day, maybe. But I'll just briefly go over the list of top 10 matches. Number 10, and obviously a lot of people disagree. They'll probably say there should be a lot higher, but it's my list. So, Undertaker, Shawn Michaels, WrestleMania 25. Number 9, we've got Undertaker, Shawn Michaels, Hell in a Cell, Bad Blood. Number 8, Ric Flair, Ricky Steamboat, Clash of the Champions 6 in 1989. If I'd have seen that match live, I think if I was a wrestling fan in 89 and saw it then, that would probably be my number 1, but I didn't see it years later. Then number 7, Austin versus The Rock at WrestleMania X7. I mean, big match at the time. And yeah, I know it's going to be like, oh, you're a Bret Hart mark, so 4 of the top 6 have Bret Hart in it. So number 6, Bret Hart and Shawn Michaels at WrestleMania 12, the Iron Man match. And that's for personal reasons as well as match quality. Yeah, it really is. Number 5, Shawn Michaels Razor Ramon ladder match from WrestleMania 10. Number 4, Bret versus Owen from WrestleMania 10 as well. I love WrestleMania 10, as you know. Number 3, Triple H Cactus Jack Street Fight from Rumble 2000. Probably my favourite match of the Attitude Era. Then obviously 1 and 2. Number 2, Bret Hart and Stone Cold from WrestleMania 13. Amazing match. And obviously, I'm sure most of you know this by now, but number 1, Bret Hart versus the British Bulldog from SummerSlam 1992. So yeah, now we're getting down to the end. We've got 2 sets of questions to go, no? 3 sets of questions, sorry. We got a Rated R Gooka Star. For some reason, I fucking find that username hilarious. That's a brilliant username, dude, by the way. What do you think the ending will be to Okada versus Omega 3 in the G1 Climax? Now, it hasn't happened yet. It's happening on August the 12th. So, I feel like, I think we're gonna see Omega win. I really do. I think it would make sense for Omega to beat Okada in a non-title match, and then you have the series of Okada, a draw, then Omega. So, perfect excuse to do Okada Omega 4 for the title sometime. If Omega wins G1 Climax, that could be a Wrestle Kingdom, but they may do it later in 2017. So, if I could guess, obviously I'll just probably go for an Omega win. If WWE won the Monday Night War, would they still be in business? No, I don't think so, because, and it's sad really, because if WWE won the war, where would the wrestling business be now? Because I feel like, obviously all the problems WWE had later on, things still would have happened. They would have self-destructed and fucked up and went out of business, so who knows? But I don't think so. What do you think about Baron Corbin's push, and do you think he's a good wrestler? I mean, I don't mind Baron Corbin's push. I mean, I think he's a good wrestler. I mean, he's alright. I think he's decent enough. I mean, but he's been having a decent push though. I mean, it's not like he's been rushed to the top. I mean, he's been on the main roster for 1.5 years now, so at least he's having a steady push, and I feel like ultimately probably is the right man to hold Money in the Bank at this present time, because that's usually a heel thing, and he's an up and coming heel. I feel like at least he'd be an upgrade on Jinder Mahal as champion for sure. I can say that with confidence, I really can. He obviously do a better job than Jinder Mahal. I mean, as a wrestler, he's decent, he's good enough, I feel. He's good enough to get by. And obviously, as he'll get more experience, he'll get better naturally. But I feel like he's got a lot of things. He's got the size, obviously. He's been a WWE fan for any length of time. You'll know that Vince likes his big guys. He's got a good look with the tattoos and all that, although I think he should cut his hair and get a skin at it, because he's going bald and he looks a bit stupid going bald with long hair, but that's another issue. As you might have seen on Talking Smack a few times, he's a really good talker when he's allowed to be. When he's allowed to just go off the cuff and be himself, he can be a really good talker. He has a cool finish. End of Days is a cool finisher. And he's got some believable strikes as well, because he used to be a Golden Gloves boxer. So actually behind Brock Lesnar, Baron Corbin's probably the most legit badass in WWE probably. So I honestly don't, if he wins, let's just say he wins the title, he cashes in a SummerSlam maybe, I honestly wouldn't mind him being the champion for a while, because I feel like he'd make a decent enough champion for a short period. But I feel like in a year or two from now, he'll be a lot better than he is now. What have you got? Do you think Kenny Omega and Naito would have gotten the push they got if Shinsuke, AJ, Gallows and Anderson left? So, Naito, I would say Naito probably would have got the push because I think like hadn't he been something of a top guy or strong upper mid carder for a while, so I feel like he naturally probably would have just progressed up the card and be where he is anyway, regardless of those guys left. Don't think Gallows and Anderson had any bearing, but I think the big one for Omega, pretty sure Omega wouldn't be where he is if AJ and Nakamura hadn't left. I mean, especially AJ, because when AJ left, two big spots came up. I mean, one, the top foreign star in the company, and number two, and more importantly, leader of the Bullet Club, and then Kenny Omega was there to fill both of those spots. And then, because I remember that Wrestle Kingdom, didn't he lose the junior heavyweight title to Kushida? So obviously with AJ Nakamura going, there was a big spot there. Kenny Omega, to his credit, 110% stepped up his game and really made that spot his own. I mean, his rise is pretty incredible, really, to be honest. So yeah, I feel like maybe Omega would be in the mid, like, maybe he'd be like Intercontinental title level right now if AJ was still there, but I definitely don't think he would have won G1 Climax last year. I mean, I get the feeling AJ might have won G1 Climax last year and main event at Wrestle Kingdom before Carter this year if he's still been there, but obviously that's just me guessing and all that. Then, now that Austin Aries is released, I think he'll return to Ring of Honor or TNA, Global Force Wrestling. So again, just to correct people, Global Force Wrestling, not TNA. But to answer the question, I feel like going back to Globals or /TNA /Anthem, whatever the fuck, you know what I mean? So I would say that's probably the most likely option. I mean, thing is, you can't go into because he had a no compete clause, so you can't actually debut till October, which would be around Bound for Glory time. So I feel like he'll probably most likely go to Global Force Wrestling. That's what I think anyway. And then funny things are funny. Well, I'm glad that funny things are funny. What's your least favourite match? I don't know. I can't really answer that because there's been so many bad matches over the years that it's really hard for me to say what is your least favourite when there's been so many duds over the years. Tata Gonzalez, WrestleMania 9, just to throw one out there. What's your biggest dream match that could happen with the current roster now? Might get crucified for this by the IWC, but let's just be honest. And the biggest dream match WWE can do now is John Cena versus Roman Reigns. I mean, yeah, I know, Cena sucks, Roman's a Samoan Cena, he's overpushed, he's only good there because of his look and all that, which I'm sure some people will think. So a lot of the IWC diehard people will probably hate this, but it'll be a big money match. It's probably one of the very few big money matches WWE can do in 2017, 2018. And let's be honest, John Cena's had a great record in big matches. I mean, let's be honest, Cena can work. Roman Reigns is getting better all the time, so I feel like this could be a very, very entertaining match. So yeah, it's got to be Cena Reigns, hasn't it? That's probably the biggest dream match you can do. What was your first pay-per-view? I'll go SummerSlam 1992. Obviously, I've said that before in the past. And then, best theme song ever, for me, Edge's Metalingus song, the Alter Bridge one. I think that's great, amazing theme song. That is For me, probably the best wrestling theme song ever, in my opinion. Love it. And then it's a good question, actually. What was your favourite pay-per-view stage? And you might find the answer quite interesting. So, obviously nowadays, last several years, WWE seems to outdo themselves every year with the WrestleMania stages and all that. I mean, sometimes the WrestleManias aren't that great, but one thing you can always count on is a fantastic looking set. Now, mine's going to go way back, because it wasn't a big set, but I thought it just looked cool as fuck. Remember the Royal Rumble 2000 set that was made to look like a back alley? Just, I don't know, there's something about that I just loved. I think I just loved how it looked and all that. I was a big fan of that one. So that's my favourite, the Royal Rumble 2000 now. But nearly two and a half hours into the video, and then we've got one last set of questions, and that comes from Albert Butler, and they're all 1998 related, so I'm guessing you're a big fan of 1998 and you're an older fan like me. Do you think Bret Hart and Steve Austin could have headlined WrestleMania 14 if Screwjob didn't happen? Yeah, I do. I feel like, as far as I know, that's probably what was going to happen. If it just would have been Bret, Austin and Tyson instead of Shawn, Austin and Tyson. So Bret would have basically not lost the title from SummerSlam and kept it into 1998, where he would drop it to Steve Austin. That would have made so much sense as well, because of like the Austin Bret Hart history. Austin had never gotten that big win over Bret, had he? I mean, Bret won the match at Survivor Series. He also won the match at WrestleMania 13. So would have made sense for a year after WrestleMania 13 for Austin to go over the Hitman and win the World Wrestling Federation title. Then we got how do you feel about Chris Jericho's pushing WCW in 1998? Honestly, I thought that was probably one of the best things about WCW in 1998. So Jericho's first year in the company was basically the classic happy-go-lucky babyface, and it was pretty awful by 1996 and 1997. So the big heel turn, and then just letting Jericho show his personality, just letting him do whatever the hell he wanted, basically. Just showing his mic work really got him over. I mean, obviously the 1004 Holds thing was one of the most awesome moments ever, as well as when he was claimed to be a conspiracy victim and all that, and he was going to the White House and shit like that, just awesome stuff. How would the WWE be if Bret didn't leave? I don't know, probably not that different, because I think they were going that direction anyway. Obviously they were going more attitude towards the end of 1997, and they would have just stayed the course. I think the only big difference is without the Montreal Screwjob, the catalyst for Mr. McMahon wouldn't have been there, and we might never have got Mr. McMahon and Stone Cold, which obviously that just made everything so much bigger. And then as far as Bret though, I'm a die-hard Bret Hart fan, but just don't think Bret Hart would have fit in with the Attitude Era. It would have been a little bit of a decline, to be honest. I mean, obviously one of the big things, Bret was really uncomfortable with this direction of the company. Bret Hart was a traditional wrestler, so with all like the tits and arse and all the swearing and extra violence and all that, I just don't think Bret would have really been a good fit for the Attitude Era. So would have been Bret's career probably would have petered out a little bit, and then we got should Owen have been WWF champion in 1998? No, definitely not. I mean, love Owen Hart, but come on, this was 1998. This was, obviously it was all about Steve Austin. He was the guy who should have been a champion. I mean, Owen Hart, no, not in 1998. I mean, if Owen was ever going to be champion, should have been 1994. I always disagree with it, where people say if Owen hadn't have died, he would have went on to win the WWF title. I totally disagree with that. And then, last question of the whole thing. If WCW didn't reveal Mick Foley's win, do you think they could have won the ratings? Yeah, probably. I mean, because what's interesting, what the ratings showed, is almost as soon as they made that announcement, about 500,000 viewers switched over to Raw immediately to watch Raw and see the title change. So I feel like, yeah, because obviously that was advertised as Kevin Nash versus Hollywood Hogan for the world title, wasn't it? And of course we got the finger poke at Doom, but that's a completely other issue. But yeah, I do feel like if they hadn't made that announcement, they probably would have likely won the rating that night. But yeah, and that's a wrap, guys. I mean, another great Q&A. I feel like a lot of good questions. Lengthy video again, so not sure when the next one will be. Probably in a month's time or something like that. But I have this, it'll probably be wrestling in 2001 though, just as a heads up. So thank you guys for all the questions, and I'm out for now, guys, and peace.